thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome the opportunity to come into your home.
Sir, I would like to know what your position is on nonviolence.
Well, nonviolence is one of the things that has disarmed the so-called Negro here in America. And any Negro leader who teaches our people to be nonviolent in the face of the violence that we've been experiencing for the past 400 years is actually doing our people a disservice. In fact, it's a crime. It's a crime for any Negro leader to teach our people not to do something to protect us in the face of the violence that is inflicted upon us by the white people here in America. And whenever you teach a man to turn the other cheek or to be nonviolent, what you're actually doing is disarming the victim of white brutality. You're robbing him of his right to defend himself. In fact, the only time it's intelligent to be nonviolent is when you're dealing with someone else who's nonviolent. I'm nonviolent with those who are nonviolent with me. This is intelligent. But just as you see other people doing whatever is necessary to protect themselves, it's time today for the 22 million Afro-Americans to feel free to do whatever is necessary to protect ourselves. You take, for an example, in the Constitution, it gives a person the right to have a rifle or a shotgun. And in areas in this country where the government has proven itself either unwilling or unable to defend the black people, it is time for the black man to stand up and start defending himself. Not to go out and initiate acts of aggression against whites or initiate acts of aggression against anyone. But in areas where we see that the government will not protect us or defend us or find those who have brutalized us and made us the victims for the past 400 years, then it is time for us to do whatever is necessary to defend ourselves. And it should be emphasized that by this I don't mean that we should go out and look for trouble or start trouble or initiate acts of aggression. But we should feel that we're within our human rights, our civil rights, and within the rights of intelligence to do whatever is necessary when we are attacked to defend ourselves. In fact, the best thing to teach our people is never to be the aggressor, never to look for trouble. But anytime anyone makes any effort to brutalize us or to inflict wounds upon us, we should feel that we are within our rights to do whatever is necessary to repel them. Do nothing unto anyone, but always do whatever is necessary to keep others from doing to you, which they've been doing for the past 400 years, making us the victims of brutality.
But is it not a fact, Minister, that people like Dr. Martin Luther King, who have advocated nonviolence, have been successful with their nonviolent moves?
Well, they've been successful in going to jail. They've been successful in becoming the victims of police dogs and police clubs and water hoses. If Dr. Martin Luther King feels that this is the best way to gain freedom, justice, and equality for our people in this country, well and good. I have no criticism of him whatsoever, but I think that the time has come now where the masses of black people feel that nonviolence shouldn't be taught to us unless it's also taught to the white people in this country. And black people shouldn't be taught to turn the other cheek unless the white people are taught to turn the other cheek. Now, if Dr. Martin Luther King can be so successful in disarming Negroes, they should send him to Russia and let him disarm the Russians. Let him disarm some of these other countries where...
That may sound good in philosophy, Minister Malcolm, but I still have to take the stand that Dr. King has been a degree successful with the non-violence movement. Now, let us take the March on Washington, for instance. Was this not something that exemplified the feeling of the Negro and made everyone very, very happy?
It depends on whether or not anything was gotten out of it. In fact, yes, it probably made them happy. Most of the people I saw involved in the March on Washington looked very, very happy. In fact, they looked too happy to be involved in a Negro revolt. So that insofar as the March on Washington producing meaningful results, most of the masses of black people today and this year are beginning to see where nothing came of it other than the fact that it gave many of the bourgeois Negroes a chance to feel that they were doing something without really having to do anything. It became a status symbol. Just like going to the Kentucky Derby is a status symbol for those who know nothing about horses. They like to be able to say they went to the Kentucky Derby and they can't tell a horse from a cow. Or the Rose Bowl game. They like to be able to say they went to the Rose Bowl game and they don't know a football from a baseball. But the fact that they can say they went to the Rose Bowl game is a status symbol. Or the fact that they can say they went to the Kentucky Derby is a status symbol. So many Negroes took the opportunity to say that they were in the March on Washington. Not that it produced anything, or not that they really felt that they were involved in a Negro revolution, but it gave them a chance to say, I was there. It was a status symbol. But status symbols don't take us out of the alleys and out of the ghettos and out of the slums. Status symbols don't remove segregated school systems. Status symbols don't get meaningful civil rights legislation. So when it comes to the March on Washington and all of these other nonviolent approaches, they were good in their day. But this is a new day, and it's a new Negro.
But we will have to agree.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. What's going on, my brother Bakari? Everybody subscribe to Bakari's channel. My brother was just over there live, you know what I'm saying? And I want to show a couple things real quick, right? And the last thing is kind of longer, so I'm gonna be quick with the other stuff real quick. But at first I wasn't even gonna show y'all, but y'all remember I kind of did the reaction of the coon reacting to the coon, but I wanted to show y'all something else. But before I do that, I wanted to show y'all a couple of things real quick, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't trying to be on here long, so if you want to come on here and you got anything to say about any of this stuff, then just let me know. I'll put it in the chat, but we're gonna stay on topic because I can't really be on here super late. All right. Now, before, right, I showed y'all, let me show y'all this, right? Because y'all boy, then had another stroke or seizure or whatever going on, dying right there on the middle of the floor. They keep putting them out there, though. But, check this out.
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
It's about to be my face when people be saying some crazy nonsense or they try to say some wild stuff. I'm gonna just play this video for them. It's gonna be my face for them.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
Yeah, she was loud as hell in his ear. He couldn't even move. She came over there loud as hell.
2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute.
Oh, man.
Senator.
His battery died.
I'm going to head outside, so. Come with us. Okay.
And they just let this fool keep going. But that's what happened. You got old people, and this going to come back into play later, but this going to remember this too. This is my face when people say some dumb stuff that, I ain't even going to debate with. I ain't going to argue with no more.
That's
What up, Koku? This is my new face when y'all say some wild stuff.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator.
He's over here dying in front of the crowd. But yeah, man. So y'all see that, right? And then they just let this fool keep going.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
Oh yeah, that's gonna help. Right, he got his diaper on. Oh man. But this is who's in a thing. Now I'm about to show y'all some stuff that probably gonna piss y'all off. Y'all might not even get mad at me for showing this stuff. But like first and foremost, I want to show you this, right? Because I don't know if y'all saw what happened with this sister that was pregnant in Ohio. And I'm gonna go through this. I ain't gonna talk a lot about a lot of this stuff because the last thing I want to show you is kind of long,
Ohio today released the body cam video of a fatal police shooting near Columbus of a 21-year-old pregnant woman. CBS's Nancy Chen reports a lawyer representing the family says the footage shows a, quote, gross misuse of power and authority.
Hey, out of the car. Out of the car.
Newly released police body camera footage shows 21-year-old Takia Young, a pregnant woman, repeatedly being told by 2 police officers to get out of her car last week.
Out of the car.
Young, who is suspected of shoplifting alcohol at a nearby grocery store, refuses to exit her vehicle.
They said you stole stuff, do not leave. Get out of the car. Then get out. No.
Moments later, Young slowly accelerates toward an officer. He then fires once, hitting her in the chest. The officers chase the car as it rolls into a wall and immediately begin medical assistance. Young was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Her baby did not survive. Glendon Township Police Chief John Belford has placed the unidentified officer who fired the shot on administrative leave pending an investigation.
Despite being
Right, and it's always unidentified when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I'm showing you this right to get into like also what we're gonna talk about, but also, you know, this pregnant sister, you know what I'm saying? Like and you'll see, you know,
Pending an investigation.
Despite being ordered to get out of the car more than a dozen times, she refused to do so.
I didn't see justification. I saw a young woman get killed.
Attorney Shanda Brown says the Young family watched the video and is demanding an indictment of the officers.
And they're obviously upset and devastated by watching that video.
Nancy Chen, CBS News.
all right, so and then I'm gonna just show you a little bit what they're saying. Oh yeah. Or you and they always come to these channels. I barely see black people. It's usually them coming on here because I know we may like to think like stuff can't get serious, and this is the only reason why I'm showing you some of this stuff, like for you to be prepared for what may or may not happen. You know what I'm saying? But you definitely want to be prepared, you know. But this person, if a cop tells you something, even if you disagree, just do it, you know. Get angry as you like, side with the pregnant woman if you like, side with the police, but please never do what she did. And they talking about it shouldn't accelerate. So y'all get the point, you know what I'm saying? The same stuff that they say every time, you know what I'm saying? But also let me show you this one, right? Now this was in Pennsylvania, I think, because we was just talking about the churches, and apparently this white boy was about to come up into this black church and do the same thing. All right, so I just want to play some of this, and then I had to play 2 different stories because they say 2 different things.
Church, but also for the entire community. And tonight, Jeffrey Harris is facing a long list of charges, including aggravated assault and terroristic threats. Police say he pointed a long gun at 2 different women, at one point a police officer, and attempted to enter that church.
White male with a long gun trying to get into the church. He's wearing a red hat, camo vest, and white pants.
You just think about how close we came to having the same kind of horrific situation that we had at the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Bishop Kenneth Crum of Greater Dominion Church says suspect Jeffrey Harris would have been able to get into his packed church if he arrived just 1 hour later for his Sunday service.
And it's like the grace of God. Thank God for his grace, for his covering over us, because this could have been a total different way.
Right. So, you know, thank God, you know, they the brother, you know, said they would have came in like an hour later during church service. He would have been able to get in, but they seen a suspect looking messed out white boy, you know what I'm saying? And they was like, nah, get up out of here. And then the white boy went around pointing the gun at bystanders, at the police, and then they peacefully arrested him.
According to the criminal complaint, the church is predominantly African American, quote, raising concern that the male was attempting to enter the church with a long gun to commit a hate crime.
There's a whole lot of mass murders going on. There's shootings, and particularly in the African American community. People targeting our communities.
Ambridge police called in other agencies to help locate the 38-year-old suspect. And at one point, Harris pointed his gun at an officer who called in backup. Police say he had on him a 12-gauge shotgun, 25 shotgun rounds, and crystal meth when he was arrested. Harris was taken to the Ambridge police station, and officers determined that his shotgun had been recently fired. Police then went to his house on Dust Avenue, where the porch was smeared with a personal lubricant. When they got inside, police say the house appeared, quote, ready for a standoff, including a weapons case with a drilled hole, creating a tactical position from which the occupant would fire at the front door from a protected position. Police called the Allegheny County Bomb Squad to remove a suspected explosive device. A handgun was found in the living room, along with more ammunition. When officers went upstairs to Harris's room, they found a notebook with a handwritten script for an active shooting. As for Crum, he says his church already has armed security, but they will be adding more.
You can't have service no more without it.
Now, you hear that, at least the church saying we about to start having armed security at the church, you know, and especially with these terroristic white boys out
As
here.
his church already has armed security, but they will be adding more.
You can't have service no more without it. It's just that bad, as you know yourself. I can really sleep safely not protecting the people of God.
Right. I feel them on that. I can't sleep soundly at night, not protecting the people of God, because y'all have to realize that we are all we got, and we the only ones that is going to protect yourself. So whatever situation you in, we definitely want to be prepared, because we can't like argue or talk or reason or expect different in their systems and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, we got to be the ones that get home. You feel me? And I'm gonna play that last part again because I feel them on that part. You know what I'm saying? It's a brother in the church. She said, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Script for an active shooting. As for Crum, he says his church already has armed security, but they will be adding more.
You can't have service no more without it. It's just that bad, as you know yourself. I can really sleep safely not protecting the people of God.
I can't sleep peacefully not protecting the people of God. You feel me? So let me show y'all, right, what the police is saying about this, you know, now, right? So the brother you hear saying they was targeted because this was a black church and we already know what they're up to. But, you know, y'all can kind of guess the police response.
Targeted, and he says police won't take it seriously. His claim comes after a man with a gun allegedly tried to get into the church over the weekend. Police there in Ambridge say the man was on drugs.
And now, as Chris Hoffman reports, a
meth heads,
local
man.
congressman is involved.
According to the bishop, he feels this situation has been downplayed by police. He feels, in light of everything that has happened across the country, where some predominantly African-American churches have been attacked, there should be more urgency and cooperation working with him. It was Sunday morning when 38-year-old Jeffrey Harris allegedly had a gun and tried to get into the church. He apparently pointed a gun at people entering the building on Melrose Avenue. Ambridge police later arrested him on Merchant Street.
What would you think if you were standing here in my shoes?
Bishop Kenneth Crum says police told him about the incident later Sunday afternoon. He feels they should have been notified sooner. Since then, there's been no communication between the two.
We're the victims. You know, it's not my job to reach out to them. We're the victims.
Ambridge Police Chief John DeLuca did not wish to comment today, but said yesterday they don't feel this was a hate crime. They apparently found Harris was under the influence of meth during the incident.
We found nothing.
Now, he's saying this right now. This meth head was under the influence of meth, but they also said they found like he was writing something talking about different shooters and stuff like that, you know, and it's no coincidence because even when we talking about this Alabama thing, you got to realize who we are dealing with, you know what I'm saying? And is being prepared to always be able to send them back to where they came from, you know, because, you know, like he said, I never not want to be in a position where I can't protect the children of God. You feel me?
Harris was under the influence of meth during the incident.
We found nothing in the evidence as of now to alarm our community to think that this was racially motivated or crimes against our churches.
But Bishop Crum feels
I can hear him now. Like, we don't need all that woke nonsense over here. This ain't that woke stuff here, boy.
To alarm our
Pennsylvania,
community
my
to think
bad.
that this was racially motivated or crimes against our churches.
But Bishop Crum feels they're not taking his concerns seriously. Congressman Chris DeLuzio sent a letter to the Justice Department to look into this matter and see if any civil rights have been violated.
I heard from the bishop, his folks are worried. They're worried they were targeted because of the color of their skin, because they were there to worship. We have federal laws to protect both of those things in this country.
The bishop says other security measures will be put in place in addition to locked doors to make sure everyone does stay safe when they come to worship.
What up,
In
K-Shaw?
Ambridge, Beaver County.
So, there you have, went to a black church, black neighborhood, all that stuff, pointed a gun at the police, and he's telling you, well, we don't do that woke stuff around here. All right, and I'm gonna also play this one, right? And notice this one also. I don't know if this is an Asian dude, you know what I'm saying? But this is him wishing death on black people for being black people. So, this is what he said.
Live in this area, and these thugs coming to our neighborhood to wreak havoc and cause mayhem is horrible. But hey, we voted for this. This is Richmond District in San Francisco, and lots of rich people live here. Now, I'm going to show y'all the video and come on back.
He was mad as hell.
Cop in 30 minutes. Called 911, I called the Richmond station. Not one fucking cop. They need to start shooting them. Fucking shoot them. They're on the sidewalk.
Oh no, not them on the sidewalk. You're talking about, they need to shoot them. Now, I don't know if this was an Asian dude, and especially like in San Francisco is likely, you know what I'm saying? But I know some of y'all kind of include this dude, and I had to play this one because I thought it was kind of funny. So I'm gonna let some of this play, right? Because speaking of Indians here, now this dude Ibram Kendi, you know what I'm saying? They be like they hate him now. They calling him like the CRT dude and all this stuff. And he said something about I want discrimination to correct discrimination or something like that. But I got his book. He got a history book about the stuff in slavery. I got one of them. And, even in that book, though, he wrote the history about black people from the eyes of a white abolitionist. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those kind of dudes, So I can't say that he is that, Yo, what up, Shanique? What up, Shanique? And you missed it, Shanique. I was showing how the church sent the white boy away. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna play some of this dude because speaking of the Indian, I just thought this was funny. But they comparing that dude to the KKK, and you already know how this trying to be white boy try to fit in. But I just thought this was funny for me. So
my heart goes out to those families. This should not be happening in the United States of America, and it is wrong. The reality is we have a mental health epidemic in this country. There are reports that this particular individual, the perpetrator, was indeed...
Now, I know some people would try to argue for the East Indians being black, I don't know. But there we go.
Evaluated for mental health deficiencies as well. And I think we need to have the courage in this country to bring back a practice of putting back psychiatrically ill people who pose a risk to their communities into psychiatric institutions, not just drugging them up, but faith-based approaches and other approaches that fill our longing for purpose and meaning in this country.
Is one aspect of these shootings, and apparently, and we're still learning a lot about what happened. The facts are still coming out. Also, this was very much apparently racially motivated. The sheriff there said point blank that this shooter had manifestos coming, 3 manifestos, and said specifically that he went to this dollar store with the intent of killing black people.
I think that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is. The reality is we've created such a racialized culture in this country in the last several years that right as the last few burning embers of racism were burning out, we have a culture in this country largely created by media and establishment and universities and politicians that throw kerosene on that racism. And I can think of no better way to fuel racism in this country than to take something away from other people on the basis of their skin color. I've been saying that for years. And I think that is driving, sadly, a new wave of anti-Black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to stop hate and discrimination on the basis of race, let's stop discriminating on the basis of race and see what unites us as Americans, because I do not think this kind of racial division and any division is good for us as the United States.
I believe that there are a lot of people of color in this country who don't think it was just lasting embers of racism, but that a lot more work had to be done, particularly given the history of the systemic racism in this country, slavery and beyond. I want to ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
And it's funny because he doesn't know yet that he'll never be accepted. You know what I'm saying? No matter what he does, he doesn't know that yet. It's just like I think the older Larry Elder, he's starting to figure it out. But like people like Tim Scott, they still haven't learned yet. Larry Elder's starting to figure it out. No matter what he do, they'll never accept you.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy?
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly, most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign. Kara Swisher calling me Rama Smarmy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my skin and my attributes. That comes today from the modern left. But the reality is,
do you
this is
acknowledge,
part of
though,
a
that
dogma
white
in this
supremacy
country.
does still exist in the United States?
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting, yes. But I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes. And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this, to revive our doctrine of e pluribus unum, not just celebrating our diversity and our skin deep attributes, but celebrating what unites us across that diversity. That's what we've forgotten in the United States of America. Our true strength is the set of ideals that unite us. That's my job to revive as our next president. And I think that the next generation in particular is so starved for that, starved for commonality, starved for a nation that is unified, bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what we need to recreate in this country. And to those who say the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, I say no. The right remedy is actually abandoning all discrimination and moving forward with colorblind meritocracy in the United States of America.
You took it to another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of Black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints.
You didn't just say they would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern Grand Wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Pressley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my views, that is wrong. It is divisive.
That
is driving hate in this country. This is dividing
Okay, that
our
is a
country to a
debate.
breaking point.
That is
And
a
I think we need to
debate
move beyond it.
that is based on nonviolent discussion. That you just said you're using rhetoric, which she
Yes.
said she's using rhetoric. That's one thing, and another thing is to say that she represents and she is a modern version of a KKK, which, as you know, was dedicated to the subjugation and violence against Black people. How on earth is she a modern
Dana,
grand wizard
let's be
of
intellectually
that
honest.
kind of organization?
Let's be intellectually honest and get to the heart of what this debate ought to be about. There is a worldview that says that the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, that if you're Black or brown, you have to have a particular point of view. That's from Ibram Kendi. That's from Ayanna Pressley, the people I quoted in my speech yesterday.
But can
There's
you
a
have an
different view that I
intellectually
have, which
honest
says that regardless
conversation
of who you are,
when you accuse
have to be
her
able
of
to have your own
being a
opinion.
grand wizard
Let's
of
have
the
the debate.
KKK? Can you have that
I think that
intellectually
the
honest
point is-
discussion with that kind of rhetoric?
Yes, I can, Dana, because the point I'm highlighting is that even the people who, in good spirit, we all agree that the KKK was an awful organization that is a toxic stain in our national history. So given that we can start from that point of agreement, now that allows us to say, well, who actually sounds more like that organization today? The people who are calling for more racial discrimination on the basis of skin color. So yes, I think that is an
But it's not
intellectually
about
useful starting point
sounding
for a
like-
provocative discussion
The whole-
that we need to have in this
the
country.
whole point is
And I
the
think that- I think the
KKK
reality,
wasn't
Dana,
just
is
about rhetoric.
we have to speak
They
openly in this
lynched
country.
people, they murdered people, they raped people, they burned their
And
homes.
that was wrong.
Simply
That was obviously
because
wrong.
of, so
Wrong.
okay, so again,
that is obviously a
if
wrong
you
thing
want to
for
have
them
an
to have done.
intellectual
Absolutely.
discussion, do you think that maybe comparing her to the Grand Wizard and the notion of what she said to being a modern leader of the KKK was maybe a step too far, or you stand by what you said?
I stand by what I said to provoke an open and honest discussion in this country, because there is a gap, Dana, between what people will say in private today and what they will say in public. I think we need to close that gap. I think we need to have real, open, honest, raw conversation as Americans. That is our path to national unity. And there are many Americans today who are deeply frustrated by the new culture
I'm
of
just not
anti-racism
sure how
that's really racism in new
provoking a
clothing.
discussion-
And we need to have that debate in the open. Dana, I think
I'm
that
not
you're
so
doing,
sure how
with due
provoking
respect,
a
what many in the
discussion
media do,
of-
picking on some fringe comment in the context of a broader context that I was offering it in a speech.
All right, so
avoiding
you
the
just said
meat
that your
of the
comment
issue.
was fringe.
Let's have the courage to confront the meat of that. No, I'm saying you drew a
You
fringe
just
comment from a
described your
much
comment
longer
as fringe.
speech. As I described you picking one fringe comment from a long
let her
speech
get
that
her
I gave
flustered.
to duck debate from the real issue that I think you don't want to have, Dana, because I think you probably agree with me on this, that this is toxic
I think that
rhetoric
this debate-
from leading politicians
I think that this
on
debate
dividing
is-
us on the basis of race. And I want to have
I
the
think
open
this
debate.
debate is fascinating and interesting and opening and important. What I did was
I do too.
explain to our viewers that you were asked a question and you took it to a point where you called a sitting member of Congress who is Black, who was having discussions about race, calling her the modern grand wizard of the KKK. And I'm just not sure how that's open and honest discussion.
All right. So yeah, my bad. I had to play that, and because he was like, open and honest discussion. Because I want you to see like something that they be saying. But before I do that, this is not. It's only like a couple seconds, right? But because they call themselves East Asians and stuff like that. So, this is not so model behavior from those good old Asians, right? Uh-oh.
Authorities say Wei, a machinist mate on the USS Essex in San Diego, sent the Chinese intelligence officer photos of military hardware and vehicles and divulged information about warfare exercises. The second person charged in a separate case, 26-year-old petty officer
Right. So, you know, those good old model minorities, you know what I'm saying? He put in the same thing. Yeah, I don't think he cut out for it. Yeah. And I was gonna play this one, and I guess I will, you know, because he was like, you know, it's time because they won't say these things, so I want you to see certain things, right? So the next thing is gonna be kind of long, but I'm gonna play just 1 minute of this, right? Because it'll lead into it. And surprise, right? The dude Tucker Carlson, and this is old, you know, but I wanted to show you what he was saying too. Like his writer was a racist dude. Like, well, I can't believe it. You know, I'm breaking news, right? Let me see. All right, so there you have it. You know, that was just for that Indian boy who think he gonna get in there. But and I'm playing this right because I want you to see something, right? Because I've watched these Jones, and I want you to see like two white boys debating about, you know what I'm saying, race. You know what I'm saying? Because it's certain things that we're saying now. This dude, if you see here, he got like Jesse Lee Peterson set up, you know, and he's not as good as him. But also listen to like what the white boy is saying, like the one who's supposed to be your ally, you know what I'm saying? Because they said a lot of interesting stuff. Now he's a caricature, but we saw earlier. That's why I showed you some of the other stuff, like about the stuff that you might want to be prepared, because I want to give you a little glimpse of the stuff that they saying, you know, behind closed doors. Now he's like I said, a little bit of caricature to it, but these is the ones who are arming themselves and stuff. So I'm gonna just play through some of this because, you know, I just thought I wasn't gonna spare y'all this, but I think that y'all should hear it, in my opinion. And if y'all want to come on here, just say it in the chat and I'll put the link in there. Well, I'm gonna just play through it. Now, notice this is the quote unquote liberal white boy, right? He's saying why you are violent. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's not like, because that's the thing I really want you to understand. Like, you kind of get the other white boy side and don't think that they don't, but this is the dialogue they have with them themselves, you know? Like, and this is what I want. I'm only pointing it out here because I want to play through some of it for you to understand. It's not that, oh, well, they aren't violent and aggressive and all of this stuff. They are violent and aggressive because X, Y, and Z. Now, let's ignore their psychopathic, violent behavior. You know what I'm saying? But even when it comes to like the politics and this people of color and the allies and trying to explain your situation, this is the best that you will ever get, you know? Oh damn, I ain't even sharing the screen. My bad. I said I was messing up. I'm glad I finally figured that out early. So I guess I'll start it from like right here.
I don't know if you realize this, but you mentioned a bunch of issues that are all results of systemic racism. So the first thing you said was that this is
white country founded for white people. I don't know if
And the
you
white boy that's talking now, that's the one who I was saying, understand, just pick up on all of the little things, like, because their mindset, like they, like, you might think that, they're trolling, or they just think differently than you do. They're not the same as you. You know what I'm saying? And, I'll just play through it though, but just peep that,
you believe that, how it's so inconceivable that if the country was literally founded for white people, there could not also exist certain systems that are screwing over people that aren't white. That's the first thing. The second thing you said was that blacks are the most aggressive. Again, when we're talking about violent crime, this is a downstream effect of poverty, and poverty is a result of previous historical racist policies. Lastly, you brought up single mothers, which, if we're going to talk about, for example, well, there was a government policy that was put in place that screwed over the black community and led to more single mothers, that is systemic racism. It can come from the Democrats, just like it can come from the Republicans. Furthermore, an example of systemic racism is literally that black men are disproportionately arrested for minute drug offenses. And so that's another contributing factor as to why there is a higher rate of single mothers. So I don't know if you realize that you brought up a bunch of things in your opening that are actually all based on systemic racism.
I say that none of those.
Yo, what's going on, Matron? And like I said, y'all might not even like this one. I might be in here by myself, but I think that y'all should pay attention to, especially the white liberal ones. Of course, he's saying all of this stuff, and put that together with everything I was saying before. But shouts out to Matron in the building. And if y'all want to say something, just let me know. I'll put the link in the chat.
Things are systemic racism, and the white countries are the most fair to the so-called minorities. To deal with the fact that this is a white country and it was made by white people, how about some appreciation rather than resentment? Because resentment is what blacks are fed by the people that you're listening to, and that has only made them worse off, because you leave out the spirit. You think that this poverty thing causes crime, but poverty does not cause crime. It's, if anything, it's the reverse. But really, it's a lack of morals. It's a lack of character, and you say that the family situation was a result of racist policy. They took the bribe. So I say that they will benefit most from responsibility. You treating them like victims is not love.
Well, I actually agree with you that when we're talking,
He's smoking that illegal. Yeah, exactly, Matron. Oh yeah, by the way, Matron, I showed that church. They stopped that white boy for coming in, and he said, they're gonna start having armed security. He was like, I can't sleep at night knowing I can't sleep at night knowing I have to protect God's children or something like that. So I don't know if you saw that. But yeah, I want y'all to pay attention to the white liberal boy, you know what I'm saying? Because he's, granted, they are violent, but this is because, let's be serious. We know who the violent ones are,
talking about unequal or systemic racism, we absolutely should encourage the individual, no matter what circumstance they're in, to strive for a level of personal responsibility and to try to do as best as they can, regardless of the circumstances they're in. But again, there's still issues even with that. So I think we would probably both agree that, hey, being responsible in this situation would probably look like going out and getting a job, right? If you're living in poverty, it's probably really important that you go out and get a job. But there are issues with that as well, that if you have a black sounding name, you're less likely to get callbacks on your job resumes. So there's all kinds of systemic issues and biases that exist that are holding black people back. You say that they're not appreciative, which I don't know where the proof of that is. I think that most people
don't y'all appreciate getting taken and then putting all our energy into this? Like, well, he don't understand about, I'm pretty sure most of them recognize, they probably be in Africa praying to a tree. I'm pretty sure those Negroes understand that. It's just what we did wrong was the moral sin here. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, these debate channels, they have these events, and then supposedly all of the super chats or whatever that they have, they supposedly donated to whatever charity that they send it to. Now we can also use these things. I know we like to debate and argue all the time, but If you do that, you can use the proceeds to do whatever kind of business or donation or whatever it is, because that's how they use these platforms and their money. And also, I want you to see how much money that they was getting at the end, and most of them was for this white boy who's kind of trolling, who's like, he's not as good as Jesse Lee Peterson, because Jesse Lee Peterson is the official troll and he's like scamming them. But you know, at least he's talking about his own people, saying his people is the best. Jesse Lee Peterson is not. Oh yeah. Oh, they know that, because we just saw the crackhead that tried to go in, the meth head that tried to go into the church, you know. But they, you know, but let me play some more of this so we can get through it.
But there are issues with that as well, that if you have a black sounding name, you're less likely to get callbacks on your job resumes. So there's all kinds of systemic issues and biases that exist that are holding black people back. You say that they're not appreciative, which I don't know where the proof of that is. I think that most people
Explain what you mean by that. Appreciative.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Appreciative of whites. Yes. Rather than.
Well, I think that people can be appreciate. I think that people can be. They can appreciate the country they live in while still recognizing that there are more things that need to change for the better in this country as well.
Recordings just got better.
Not bad, y'all. I don't mean to give them commercial money either, because they make a lot of money doing this.
I do not disagree with that, but they misdiagnosed the problem. You mentioned the black sounding names. Part of that is their own fault, because blacks are trained to, for a few generations now, they've been trained to come up with more African-esque sounding names. And those parents have a chip on their shoulder. That's why they're naming their kids not normal names.
So you think the parents are resentful towards whites, so they're giving their black kids black sounding names?
Yeah, they have this.
How are you reaching that conclusion? Because this sounds like delusion to me right now.
They're the ones who are deluded. Yes.
You're deluded if you think that you're somehow able to apply motive to these people's actions.
Why else would they have? Why else would they have? Let me finish that point.
Hold on, wait. No. Do you think that black or white people who name their children Jake and John have a chip on their shoulder to black people, and that's why they're giving them white sounding names?
No, because that's a normal American name. They're not trying to be different. They're not trying to be all into their unique culture and separate from the rest of America.
You're doing that right now. You're literally saying that this is a white country built by whites for whites, and that blacks should be appreciative of white people.
Yes.
You right now are playing into this cultural thing about white people.
And smart blacks would assimilate rather than try to be different. You'll see Asians will name their kids with American sounding names.
So we just saw what happened with the Asians, right? That they were selling their secrets the whole time.
They'll use an American sounding name. Some of them are changing back to that.
I want to focus on one thing at a time, though, because you're trying to apply.
It's resentment that causes. Yeah, it's
how is it resentment? How are you reaching this conclusion?
I'll show you the proof. Look at the attitudes that so many blacks have. You hear a black sounding name, you're like, oh gosh, this black is going to have attitude in my business. He's going to cry racism when I have to discipline him.
Actually, what you're saying right now is called being racist.
No, it's not. It's reality. It's a risk assessment. It's
this
a
is
risk
like me
assessment.
saying, oh no,
you hear that is a risk assessment, right? Every time they be like, you're racist, you're prejudiced. No, it's just risk assessment. You know what I'm saying?
This is like me saying, oh no, I'm going to hire a white guy named Jake. I bet he's going to be a school shooter. If you're making assumptions based on people purely based on their name that you are deriving some kind of ethnic identity from, that is racism.
No, you're taking a risk when you hire anybody. And why would you take an extra risk of somebody who, when you have a lot of experiences, you may not have a lot of experiences with school shooters, but you have a lot of experiences with this black attitude, and I'm putting that in quotes, and it's something that they do have. And especially when they have like these Shanae and all these crazy names, because they're raised names. They're not culturally significant. They started coming up. The slaves weren't named with those names. They changed it in order to be into this false black identity.
I don't even know. You're just making assertions right now, and you're basically applying some ill intent.
You think the slaves were called Shanae?
No, I think that you're asserting that black people are sometimes given black sounding names for some kind of resentment against whites. I think that that's really ridiculous and
Are you
has
aware
no
that
bearing in
blacks have a?
reality.
Are you
Now
aware?
this white boy, he's a caricature. He's not as good as Jesse Lee Peterson as scamming. You know what I'm saying? But like I just showed you the rest. Like, don't think that this is not more so the he does a fairly well caricature of the conservative, and he does a fairly well. Well, I think he's like an actual quote unquote liberal, but you know he says suspect stuff himself because that's what they said. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, Shanique. That's why I wanted to show you this. You know, when black people sound white, y'all don't like it. No, but y'all be like Tyrone and everything, Bakari. Come on now. And no, and when people say that, and that's another thing I wanted to mention, be like when y'all be like you sounding white, it ain't because you're using big words, you know, it was regular sentence. You don't talk with that certain rhythm that black people have. Like you just sound stuck up. Like when Richard Pryor do an imitation of a white voice, he's not saying big words. He's like, oh, Dr. Pryor, you know, like it's a certain energy, you know what I'm saying? But y'all shouldn't be siding with neither one of these white
Aware that
boys.
most blacks resent? Are you unaware that most blacks resent whites and have this idea of that they're such victims of racism?
I mean, I think that there's pretty solid evidence that black people are victims of a lot of racism, considering what I just laid out at the beginning of my intro here.
The most blacks don't know anything about what you're talking about. So some of them are educated and have been brainwashed into those false victimhood narratives. But most of them will be like, oh yeah, this racism is real, and they'll say, oh, this racist cop or this racist white. They project racism on anything. When they get caught or in trouble, they'll cry racism. We've all been through this. We've all experienced this.
I mean, it's a little funny that you're
interactions.
harping on black people having this attitude of resentment towards whites, which I don't know if you have any actual supporting data for that. But even if I were to grant that,
Have you experienced
you're saying
it?
that black people. Hold on. You're saying that black people have resentment towards whites, and now you're up here making arguments that would only lead to more resentment against white people from black people. Like, if anything, you're contributing to that issue that you're complaining about.
How so?
Even though the issue seems to be more or less made up.
How am I contributing to this issue of black attitude? By
Because
pointing
you
it out.
saying that blacks are aggressive and anti-white and they hate white people, so that's why they're naming their children the way they are, and they should just be thankful to the white people is ridiculous. And
It's
that
not ridiculous.
Yes, it does. It breeds resentment. You're complaining about the problem that you're simultaneously contributing to.
I'm not contributing to it by pointing out the issue. They should be grateful, and they should be responsible, and they should become Americans rather than calling themselves African Americans, which is also a new thing, and having all these black sounding names. They're aware of it. If you get them behind closed doors, they're honest about it. And you get them behind closed doors with people who, when they cry racism over any little weird thing, the most bizarre things they'll cry racism about. And you know this to be true. You've seen it all over.
That is literally a result of systemic racism.
No, it's not. It's utter denial to pretend that blacks don't have an attitude when they're resisting arrests like crazy.
I have a yes or no question for you. Do you think that we are a product of our environment?
Yes. In the fallen state, yes, we are.
Okay. So if we are products of our environment, how then does it not follow that black culture is also a product of said environment?
So like now I guess our culture is like the resisting. That's just counter to like the resisting arrest, you know. It's our environment why we resist arrest, why they shot the pregnant girl, you know what I'm saying, earlier, or all of the nonsense, you know. But you know.
Their mothers. Indeed, you're right.
Wait, so you're saying it's led by women because of the higher rate of single mothers, correct?
Yes, in part, but even when the fathers are in the home, the fathers are weak and letting the woman run the show.
Okay, well, again, you're just making assertions here, but
if I were
to grant you the claim that there are more single mothers amongst black communities, then that is literally a result of systemic racism.
No, it's not. It's their own fault for taking the bribe.
So during times of
Are
segregation,
they not
was it black
responsible?
people?
Right, and so maybe that's why y'all maybe shouldn't feed into it if you think you know where it come from, because no matter what side you on, right, you feed into this nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to show you, like, it's not original to y'all.
For
People's own
themselves.
fault for refusing to go into businesses that said no blacks allowed?
That's not a problem.
Wait.
That was not a problem for them because they had their own businesses.
During segregation, was
Yes.
it on the black people who were discriminated against in certain areas because they didn't just break the rules or do something?
It's
against it?
segregation wasn't this big problem for them.
I don't know. Again, you're just making assertions right now. You're being very female-minded, my friend. I can go and tell you more and more information if you'd like about redlining and the federal attempt, the intentional federal attempt at segregating black people from white people, which historical racist policies, black people are now disproportionately in the situations that they're in today. How does
Who take the jobs and then they're
this is another
subsidized and paid?
statistically unproven thing?
No,
You're
it's a
very
reality
womanly
that make life tougher. You and
So
blind and
you're making
brainwashed.
okay, cool. So you're making it's all on black people. They're dumb because
By
they
and
should
large.
just figure out how this is the disadvantages and just pull themselves up by it. So I need to ask, why is it that poverty is trickling down through generations? Do you think just generations and generations and generations of black people are all just kind of dumb? Like, don't you think that there has to be more issues here at play?
For sure, there are outside things that make life tougher. You are right. They vote very foolishly for people who do not care about them and who bring in illegals and immigrants who take the jobs and then they're
This is another
subsidized and paid.
statistically unproven thing. You're
No, it's
very
a reality.
womanly minded. No, this
Don't
entire
interrupt me, buddy.
conversation so far.
Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me.
It's just you're
They
being
are-
very womanly. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you're not familiar, immigration has been quite out of control, and it's been a frustration for both whites and blacks for many decades now. And the people most at risk,
Now, see, and that's the thing. Y'all keep getting caught up in all of that stuff. But if I was to say that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would point out, like, look at the Mexicans and all of that stuff in Chicago and all of these other groups, you know what I'm saying? Now, am I going to be down for all of that stuff? Like, no, you know what I mean? Now, I know that sometimes we can only have smoke for each other, you know what I'm saying? But, how we do. Yeah, I get you, Matron, and they accepting, but they all do that though. You know what I'm saying? This is their politics is all for show, all of it. You know what I'm saying?
vulnerable to job losses and all of that stuff are the people at the bottom, the blacks, and they're the ones suffering
I
the most
understand
from
the argument you're
from
making.
illegals,
There
and they're
are any
suffering from the.
statistics that indicate that people at the bottom of the earning statistics or whatever suffer only marginally from immigration. So this is more or
Yeah,
less
no,
a
they're
non-issue.
paid
Hold
not
on.
to work.
This is more or less a non-issue that again is you're obfuscating from the.
All right, I'm gonna put it in there. And Bakari, we're not talking about ADOS and all that stuff, Bakari, because I was gonna sing you something earlier that I was just curious about how you felt, you know what I'm saying? But like, because y'all be making it a one-sided thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, but all right, I'm gonna put it in there. And that's what I'm saying, Bakari. Like, I'm not letting other people off the hook here either. You know what I'm saying? All right. So any of y'all can come on here if y'all want to, but I'm gonna keep going through this too, because other parts I want
The
to
actual
play.
question at hand here, which is Black people should take responsibility, just as we
Yes.
all should take responsibility and do as best we can to better ourselves. But there are barriers in the way of Black people trying to better themselves that do not exist.
Yo, what's going on, Bakari?
What's going on? No,
No,
man,
man.
I ain't got nothing to say about ADOS. Look, the point I make when I say we sound like white folks saying we got to call out Black folks on everything. If I listen to some of the stuff that he's saying, a whole lot of Black people say that stuff. But now it's a problem because a white person is saying it. When I say some stuff, Black people need to have them discussions amongst themselves. Everything don't have to be put on Front Street for the whole world to hear it. But now we'll have a problem because white folks saying it. First, he started with the names. You hear people all the time, Pookie, Ray Way, shoot, what name they get? A Shaniqua, Bumquisha, the same stuff. And everybody just steady saying Jesse Lee Peterson. No, it ain't just Jesse Lee Peterson. It's some of these so-called conscious, woke, whatever the hell they call themselves, black folks. Then they went to talking about how black folks vote. We vote very dumb. How many times do black? I'm telling you, if we listen and just be honest, if we listen and be honest, that guy said a whole lot of the same stuff about black people that black people on social media say, but then have a problem with me when I say all this shit don't need to be on social media. Some of this stuff can be kept and you say it to yourself. Have that conversation amongst yourself. I know how they feel. But why did we get to the point where we feel about ourselves the way they feel? That's why and when I say we gonna call them out, everything don't need to be called out, not publicly. Because then when they said it's a problem. And that's the point. I'm glad you showed this, because that's the point I be talking about when I say everything don't need to be called out publicly. Everything, especially if we ain't doing nothing about it, everything don't need to be called out publicly because we sound like them. I have said that 100 times, probably more. We sound like them. That's what I say. And I don't even do it. And I still say we because I'm black. I say we sound like them. We sound like them. I even got to the point I say, man, that's that white arrogance. Y'all don't want to hear nothing else. I say it all the time. See, but I've said it. That's a fact. I said, because that if we truly listen to what he said, go back and listen to not the liberal, listen to the other guy. And then just think about some of the stuff we hear black people say on social media and tell me he don't sound just like him. And it's not just Jesse Lee Peterson. It's not just Jesse Lee Peterson who he's sounding like. It's not just him. It's black people on social media. That's why I can laugh at it. That's why I can really laugh like, damn, 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 damn. That's what I'm laughing. And every time he says something, I'm like, damn, because that's what we do. So even with the other day when we were talking, they said some things can be critiqued. You're right, black people can be critiqued. But then when white people critique black folks, the same thing. Sometimes the critiquing need to be done amongst ourselves. And while you're critiquing, creating a plan to make the situation better. We should air all of our dirty laundry out in front of the whole world, because the whole world will turn right around and use it right against you. And we are giving them ammunition. We are giving them the ammunition. I'm just saying. People might not like when I say it because they don't ever like when I say it. But like I say, I'm a firm believer in looking in the mirror. And when we look in this mirror, as black people, if we look in this mirror, and that mirror talk back, and that mirror talk back, and you hear them, it sounds just, it's not the point whether white people can critique us or not. The point is, why do black people sound just like that racist bigot right there? Why do we sound just like him when we talk about ourselves? Are we giving them ammunition, or are they giving them, or are they giving us ammunition? Who's supplying who with the ammunition? See, I don't listen to them, white folks like that, or no other folks like that. So I would say we're giving them ammunition. We're giving them ammunition. See, we always critique. We can critique. I ain't never saying no, but when you critique and you're pointing out negative, you got to have a plan. And I still say negative shouldn't reign supreme over the positive. So I believe in pointing out. I'm talking about me when we talking about black folk. I said, Bwana, you should have been on here to say it, Bwana. but that's literally what it is. If we truly listen to him and be honest, like damn, because we know we done heard people talk, even 4K units. Yeah, whenever we get a name, we make fun of the name. Now they talking about the name.
Yeah.
If we continue, if we what channel is that? I might need to listen to some more of those debates. And
They
it's
don't
not
got.
funny. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say they don't got too many about like that particular one. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead, finish because I'm saying
It's not funny that they're trying, that the one guy is trying to beat up black folk. It's funny that black people sound like the white person that's beating up black people. That's the part that's funny to me. Like, damn, how we get to the point where we sound like him?
now, Bukhari. All right, so let me say this right before I keep going. Right now, first of all, I was showing it like not only for that white dude, but for the white liberal white boy too, because I understand like how all of them think. Like when you listen to them, like they like I already knew that, but it sinks in that they are their own kind of thing. They have their own culture. They see stuff differently. You know what I'm saying? And then number two, even with the white boy, you know what I'm saying? Like certain things that, you know what I'm saying? Like when they be like, yo, we need to protect our this and we need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't disagree. I don't even disagree when they be like, yo, like when I'm talking about like when the Mexicans and all that stuff, when they talking about, all that stuff, like I would never agree with that. But then even when you say that, Bakari, when you be like, oh, we don't need to critique, like I don't see how y'all don't see like when you get on and then everything and every time is about ADOS and like look at black Americans and how black people in the like I know you ain't saying all, I'm talking about like FBA and all of that stuff. Like you don't think that's doing the same thing, you know what I'm saying? When you keep saying it over and over, like that's playing into it, you are doing the same thing. Like I'm not even offended by the white boy on here, you know what I'm saying? I think he's entertaining. I think the more dangerous one is the other white boy who we always try to explain ourselves to, when you see how their mentality is when you think about it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that, but even when y'all keep coming on here all the time saying, like, oh, well, look at this, y'all do the same thing. Like, yeah, I don't see how y'all can't see that. Like when you're just saying something and critiquing and saying that something negative, when you could put no energy into it at all and focus on the things that's not doing that, you know what I'm saying? But we still like playing into all of that when you contributing on one side or the other. You feel me? Like that's why I'm like, where do y'all be drawing the line when y'all saying this stuff? Like especially when like and that's the thing. Like, and my only thing is with that, like sometimes it do be a lot one-sided, you know what I'm saying? Like now, and I get it because we have tribal issues and tribal wars that we still going on. And it's one thing when I'm joking with Bwana about like the racing thing with Shakari Richardson and stuff like that, and I get it, but like even when you do that, like you're still playing into it when you do the same thing. So I don't know if you want to say something about hold on real quick. Hold on, shouts out to Consider in the building, and somebody else came in, but go ahead, Bakari.
When you say the thing about it is you say what do I say about FB and ADOS other than their leaders and how their leaders came to create division? And I talk about how the shit has made it to the streets and what it's at. I don't discuss FBA and ADOS. I don't care about FBA and ADOS. I care about black people being better. I have no idea how Shanique can come up and say, I don't have no idea how she can say, I sound like, what about black on black crime? No, that's not what I sound like. The point that I was making is how this guy has said the same thing that a whole lot of black people say about black people. And when I say something about, goddamn, can we say something positive? Can we say something positive about black people? Do we do anything positive? I say the positive get way more pushback than the negative. And that's why I ask, who's giving who the ammunition? Who's giving who the ammunition? when we can make fun of the names. God damn, like I'm just saying, it was like, golly, man, this is some of the same stuff that we have talked about, and how it doesn't make a difference what we do. They're gonna say something about it. But since we try to mimic them, we do the same thing to each other. And to me, that's what was to me, that's what was funny. Because I'm like, that's who we sound like. And I'm just, that's literally Shaka was on my channel and got mad. Y'all remember when he was talking about black women? He wouldn't have nobody named, what he said, Shaquita. Ain't nobody named Shaquita working for me. And that's not me knocking nobody, but that's me showing how you can go hire Shaquita in those people, how we sound like them, the black sounding names. And that's all I'm talking about. And people can say critique, but I don't see no need in critiquing nothing if you ain't critiquing anything, if you are not trying to help the situation. Because if you're critiquing, you're coming up with a way to help. And if you're not coming up with a way to help, you're really not critiquing. You're just talking about people. That's why I do my best, is that I just want to talk. I want positive. For me, when black folks talk about black folks, I just say positive reinforcement should rule the day. We shouldn't sound, the stuff that he is saying shouldn't sound nothing like what black people say about black people. Nothing. And I'm just being honest. It shouldn't sound nothing like black people that say they are in this black fight. That's the only point I'm making. It shouldn't sound nothing like it. He talking. He ain't helping. He just talking about black folk. When we say we're critiquing, we're truly not critiquing. We're just talking about black folks because we ain't getting involved in trying to create a solution. Once you get involved and try to create, so let me give you an example. You said something that needs to be done. We need more black history to be taught. So you critiqued, then you see it's different because you critiqued. Then you came up with a solution. This is something I feel I can do. I can do this African and African American history, and hopefully more people tune in and we can get a real lesson. That was critiquing. I'm not talking about what you did. I'm not talking about what we do. I'm just talking about the people that's all on, they're just going to talk negative and never have a solution. They sound like him. That's what I mean. But I said y'all, and I knew it was gonna bother you when I said y'all, so I'm gonna still say y'all, including. And that's what I'm talking about. See, it's a different thing critiquing and just talking down. You did a critique, came up with a solution. You see, but do you see the difference in what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I understand. And let me say real quick for Shanique come on, then we're gonna get back to it because there's a couple more parts. But like Bakari, even what I'm saying is like I wasn't even talking about Ada and like you know what I'm saying. And my thing is, right, especially from a lot of people, because I'll be like, where y'all draw the line? Because there are some people who would be like, yo, well, I'm Pan-African, but all they do is say negative stuff about black people, and it'll take years and years, and for them to finally say some crazy stuff for people to finally be like, oh yeah, that's kind of suspect. But like, yo, that's what I'm saying. Like, we give passes and then we go on this, like, yo, just because like, you know, that's why I joke all the time with you and Viral Drip would go fishing, you know what I'm saying, as long as you don't talk about ADOS in this, you know what I'm saying, because like that stuff is used to divide it. And I think that we take the bait way too easy to keep getting caught up into that nonsense. And even then, Bakari, like it's nothing new. Black people have been repeating their rhetoric from the beginning of time. There's always, that's the thing that we got to start expecting. It's not a surprise anymore. Like, we got to plan for this type of stuff. There's always going to be black people who's paid to create havoc and all of this stuff that started the gender wars. Not even just ADOS, is the gender wars and all of that. And I do think that it's important that we can have differences in culture, but put aside our tribal differences when it's time. Like when we joke about with the Olympic thing, you know, we could have the Black Olympics. We know everybody will tune into that. You know, it's just everybody else is making money off of it. Like I said, I'm not even mad at the white boy, because a lot of the white nationalists, they do what they have to do to make sure they have their nation. You know what I'm saying? They work harder than we do in a lot of these areas. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, like, you know, like we just do it on the anti-black thing, but it's not just here, it's everywhere, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think that people call out the equal stuff everywhere, you know what I'm saying? But let Shanique go ahead, and then you can say something, and then I'll go on to the next part.
Hey, family. I just feel like I hear you, Bakari, and I understand what you're saying now, because at first I didn't. I just feel as though, look, when it comes to us, we can say whatever it is we want to say about the areas of concern, issues, what we like and dislike about us. Because it's no different than any other family where Uncle Joe did this and Auntie Sue did that and Karina's doing this, and we all have an opinion on it. And that's fine. But when little Missy from down the block come and has something to say about it, excuse you, you have no place in this conversation. That's how I feel about that. So even if we say all of these things that may very well be, oh, I don't agree with this, or I don't like that, that's fine, you know, because that's your opinion and we're within the safety of us being a family. That's if we're acknowledging that we all recognize that we're family. But that's a problem in itself. We don't all recognize that we're family because of our own individual belief systems. We have, okay, well, that means that I'm not a family. I'm not quite black. We have all these different titles that say that we're not what we are, because we're all experiencing the same, if not similar experiences in this country, yet we don't feel the connectivity of being one unit. So when we don't do that, then we're out here and we're upset that individuals come about and they say, like you said, the same things that we're saying. Doesn't make them any less true for what they're feeling. He may very well feel like those names, which sounded so crazy to me, those names were in spite of them, as if we care about them. But that's not it at all. It's about as simple as saying, I have and I can choose however I want to name my child. We don't have to be complete parrots of them. So that was really crazy to me. But the fact that we cannot just say what we think and then go on with it without someone saying, oh, well, you got to just speak only nice about us in public or private or whatever, then we get nowhere. No one even knows that there's an issue. If anything, I've heard many times that Black people say that, oh, we don't talk about certain things. It's always in secret, certain issues that we have. Well, shame the devil, put it in the light, and we can all get it out and discuss. And then we can move toward healing on whatever the topic is. But we have to be able to say it. That's my opinion.
But when you say it, the only thing I'm saying is, what's the plan to fix it? See, because once you say it and you got a plan, even your plans need to be kept. I'm just saying everything don't need to be public. Everything is not meant for everybody else's consumption of about Black people. That's the point that I'm making. Some of the stuff that we do, that we say, should be meant for, my opinion, meant for us and us only, or we start to sound like Billy Bob, or we start to sound like Billy Bob right there. And I don't think nobody really want to sound, none of us want to sound like Billy Bob, when we can point out to people like, God damn, man, all they do is talk about it, even to just the names. And I can just stick with the names. And how many people has made fun of names, of names, of names. So, and the only thing I'm saying is sometimes some stuff just need to be kept in-house.
Well, my question then is, what's in-house? Because who's then the allowed individual to say, okay, who are we saying it to? Can we only say it at the HBCUs? Can we only have private conversations about what we dislike about Black people within those realms of conversation? Or can it only be at the cookout? Or can it only be at the family reunion? Or is it only at the funeral? When do we then get to be able to say the things that we believe? And I don't think that we're sounding like Billy Bob. I think Billy Bob is getting licensed to sound like us from his voice, from hearing us say it when he was connected and allowed in the cookout.
And Shanique, we definitely can't say that HBCUs. I'm joking.
You know the thing. You know the thing. You know the thing is, if well, y'all can hear them talk about the HBCUs, and once again, y'all will hear yourself sound just like them. So what? Like, I'm gonna say it again, right? This is what I'm gonna say. I don't care what nobody do, right? If Black people think we're gonna get on here and we can talk bad about Black people all the time and don't never say nothing good, and that's gonna make Black people come together, right with it. But I ain't just telling you. There's something that was called positive reinforcement.
But that's not the entirety of our conversation, Bakari.
I'm not just talking about here. I'm talking about black people. I said black people on social media. I'm not talking about here on this panel per se. That's why I said.
But what's driving social media? Is it us? It's not even our platform. We know what's driving social media. I mean, maybe we can't, in different ideas, agree on who is, and I'll say small hats. We can't even agree on who it is that's driving the narrative that's negative about us. But believe you me, it's not just black people.
I never said it's just black people, but what I said is the problem is when we start to sound like them talking about ourselves.
But if it is what it is, then why can we not say it? We allowing them because they parrot us, confuse us the way we can't say anything.
Yeah, let her finish and then go ahead.
I really don't think they parrot us. We parrot them because we are the ones that have been put in a situation, and all the negative stuff about us we got from them. They don't parrot us. We parrot them. But it's okay. Like I said, if that's what black people think is cool to sound, is okay. It's to sound like Billy Bob when we talk about black people all the time. That's why for me, and I ain't telling nobody else what to do. For me, that's why I say I look in the mirror. And there's some things like, no, that just don't sound right. I can't go around sounding like them when I talk about black folk. And that mean? And I ain't telling nobody else what to do. If other black folk think that's okay,
well, this is where I don't know. I have a question only because if you're saying that there's something that requires being said, and it's actually a case, not just my personal opinion, but a fact. So we then don't say it simply because some white person has called it out.
look, like I said, y'all you can say whatever you want, but like I said, they don't parrot us. We parrot them. We didn't teach ourselves this negative stuff about us. They taught us these negative things about us that we say. They taught us not to trust us a very long time ago. Now we think they are parroting us. They are not. We are parroting them. They are doing what they have always done.
No.
My husband went to say something. I'm sorry. Here.
All right.
Hey guys, yeah, can I say something, fellas?
Yeah, what's going on, Everett?
Hey, how you doing, my brother? Yeah, check this out. When you look at the issues that our people have, and there's a lot of issues. It's not we kind of like in a glass house, but you got to realize the glass house was made by someone, which in turn, if we sit here talking about a revolution, right? And it's funny how my wife said the HBCUs, because yes, there's issues. It's easy for us to come on a panel and talk and say there's issues. I could talk positively about us. I could talk negatively about us. But what Bakari's saying is we need to be call for action. How is this call for action going to happen? Like I said, it's easy to come on a platform and say we need a call for actions. Now, if you ask me, our revolution was going to have to come through an institution. Yeah, through code. There's a lot of stuff we could teach at home. There's a lot of stuff we could do from parents to teach our children. But, Bakari, my question is, how many people graduated from HBCUs March and May, right? For the last 50, 60 years. You're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. My thing is, what are what are they learning? What are they teaching that for the simple fact they could go into the corporate America, maintain the status quo, and meanwhile, we as black people, same narrative, same problems. Hell, in Jackson, Mississippi, we can't even get clean water. It's so much different problems that, yeah, we could talk about these problems. We could sit there and say we have issues. The white man can see it. We can see it. But at the end of the day, it's going to take something. The key, let's say the key is it's going to be institutionalized. We have to teach. That's why I like Dr. Claude Anderson. He got his faults. But when he starts talking about black economics, we have to do for ourselves. That teaching has to be institutionalized. If HBCUs ain't doing it, then we need BCUs. We need to start fresh. We need something. The bottom line is, you're right. We need a call for action. How are you going to tangibly do it if it's not institutionalized through our own school, our own business? Like I said, certain things starts at home. But to change the narrative, to have a certain outcome we need, yeah, it's going to have to be through institution. I yield, guys.
All right.
I don't
Bakari,
know
you
if he was
good?
asking a question or if those questions were rhetorical. I really don't know. But
that was I was just commenting on the results that you want.
okay, but the only this is the thing, right? When you say they're not teaching, and that's the only problem I have. I ask you, how do you know? How do you know?
I don't understand. Well, I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying when you mention HBCUs and they say they're not doing this and they're not doing that, I say, how do you know?
No, because of the societal outcome. Like I said, every year, thousands upon thousands graduate for the last 50, 60, 70 years. That means you have hundreds of thousands of people that came through this learning, how would you say, assembly line. And the only thing that's coming out of it is white supremacy and white power. And yeah, they're making good money for themselves. Yeah, they're working for a great white
but how do you know? Wait, because I ask how you know, then you gonna go on your dialogue.
No. How do I know is through it. Kyrie Irving said, let's start our own league.
Oh my God, that ain't answer the question. See, and that's the point that I'm talking about. Because it's easy. Wait a minute. Because it's easy to talk about. I didn't even bring up HBCUs, but this let you know what people's heart is and mine is when it comes to black people. Because it's something where black president, black vice president, black board, you say how you know, they go on to talk about Kyrie Irving. I'm not saying they are perfect, but I just asked the question, how do you know?
And this is what I'm saying.
You don't know. It's okay to say I don't.
No. I'm saying is how I know is through societal outcomes. If right now you have all these thousands upon thousands of people graduate from HBCUs, and you have at least 12 communities. One is literally the capital of Mississippi, and they can't get no clean water whatsoever. Boil water notices like every single day, brown water coming out, no water pressure. What happened to all these graduates? What happened to all these engineers? What happened to all these lawyers? What happened to all these doctors? What happened to politicians? Where are they? Why are we suffering?
Okay,
good. That's what I'm saying. Societal outcomes.
But the thing about it is, when it comes to certain things with black people, and I stand firm on this. Black people is going to look to say something about black people and say, what are they doing? There's a government system in this country. Unfortunately, we fall under it. And if we ain't going to fight to get from under it, and once again, you can critique. But if you ain't trying to do nothing about it, it come to where I'm not critiquing, I'm insulting black people and saying, those black people, and I stand firm on what I say. So what I'm saying, so when you ask, and I say, how do you know? Then you go on to the city of Jackson and say, well, they can't get clean water.
No,
so
12 different cities.
Wait a minute. Neither could Flint, Michigan. Neither can they in Lowndes County, Alabama. If we start, neither could they in what was that? Long Island, New York, where when they flushed the toilet, when it rained, all the shit run back in the highway. But because there's an area where there is an HBCU, what we tend to do is, and I said this before, what we tend to do, we're going to put it on that. And it's okay. What we do is we speak out of ignorance and we speak out of self-hate. And it's okay. Everybody's ignorant of something. I ain't never said an HBCU was perfect. But what I did was I talk about what they have done and I talk about what they still do. But what other people tend to do is, let's say they don't do this, and my point still stand. Anything negative is about black people lasts longer in black mind than anything positive. That's what I say.
But what I say still stands. That the only way you're going to get societal change is going to be through institutions. That's the only way that's the only way you're going to have the numbers. That's the only way you're going to have the power. If Kyrie said we could start our own league, we got to look to ourselves to do it. Where our lawyers going to come from? Where the agents going to come from? Where the architects going to come from? It should come from a place where we are, where our educational system, That's my point. My point is, I'm not talking about bad about HBCUs. All I'm saying is the revolution is going to come through HBCUs, through the mindset. What mindset we going to have to make this change that we talk about every single week on your platform and on the Forecast platform? That's all I'm saying.
I think the revolution is going to come through the mindset of Black people. I don't put it on one organization. And I'm not saying that organization don't have responsibilities that it has to uphold to the community. I don't put it on them. I don't put it on the Black church. I think the revolution is going to come through the minds of all Black people. If there's a problem with something, I'm a firm believer we must do a coup. If they are a problem, if HBCU is a problem, and trust me, I know they have problems, but there's other things when it comes that I can talk, but I know there have to be a coup. Even when we talk about the church, I say the church don't do what it used to do because the strong Black men left the church. If the strong Black men got back in the church, or if the strong Black men was in certain institutions, the institutions would change. But I don't think it's only the church. I don't think it's only the HBCUs. I think the onus is on Black people, period, as a whole.
So my question is, but Jack, I totally agree with you. But let's look at it from tangible point of view. You a parent. We got a lot of fathers in the home. But some don't have fathers in the home. But bottom line is, you do your best to raise your child. They go through K to 12. After K to 12, you try to hold on to a lot of stuff you learned at home. But what's going to paint that outside success story? What's going to paint the societal outcomes we need? Again, you're right. Church is a big thing. It's huge. It's mega. But let's face it. You know, like Forecast said when I made this point about we Hebrews, that he's like, you got some people that's Islam, got some people that's going to be 7 Days Adventists. You know, we're not going to go to our true roots of who we are as a people, and that's another issue. The bottom line is, once the child leaves their home and before they get out on their own, it's the college institution that help paint white supremacy through the skyscrapers that you see, through the government that we have to adhere to. From every single angle, they go through the institutions. I'm saying the same thing for us. Yeah, the child leaves the home, the parents did their best job. Yeah, we need more fathers out raising their kids, you know, through systemic racism and the different things. Yeah, the father's not there. From slavery to mass incarceration, we all know the story. But ultimately, the institution that once the child leaves the house and they start to be young men, that's going to be senators, congressmen, artists, engineers, architects. That's the key. We have to be on the same mindset. So when you say, yes, Black people in the whole, yeah, but what institution is going to do it? Yeah, we could do so much as family, yeah, as parents, you know, as a community, but ultimately, these kids leave our house and they go into the world. When they go into the world, they should go into something that's going to push the interest of our people.
There's a lot of private institutions that Black folks could be involved with. That's all. That's why I say, if there's a problem, we can look for a solution. There's a lot of Black private institutions that we will watch shut down, or we will watch Ed Reed talk about. So don't nobody talk about Mary McLeod Bethune no more, because she put on her life on the line to open up that school down there in Florida. And the only thing Black people do is talk about how poor it is. That was a private school, had to accept public funding so it could stay open. Guess why? Because the black people who see a problem with an HBCU where there was a private, where there are private schools, are not putting in, and they are not saying, you know what, we can change this. This is something that we control. But instead, when Ed Reed went on his CTE rant and shitted on Bethune-Cookman and shitted on every HBCU, black people got on social media, yeah, he right, because HBCUs don't do that. It's a private school. So I don't want to hear about the public education or about white people controlling it. It's a private school. Tougaloo College. I don't want to hear about what the white folks doing. So once again, if there's a problem, there's a solution. We can talk about the problem. So all we're doing then is talking negative. But if we're going to truly critique, there's a solution. So who want to deal with the black private schools? Now it's going to be a problem with the black private schools, where white folks ain't had nothing to do with it until they had to ask them for money to stay open because of they wasn't getting any funding. See, it's not just the school. It's not just the church. It's black people in general, and we need to. And until we change how we see ourselves, because I was talking about how people talking about names sounding like they're white boy. Until we can change how we see ourselves and say something good about ourselves publicly, as much as we say the negative, we would never go anywhere, because we said so much till we start to believe that we are where we're supposed to be, at the bottom. Because ain't nobody gonna stand. Them folks stand out there and watch that black woman get hit in the face with a brick. If I say something positive about a black woman on a lot of these social media channels, they're gonna get mad with me. They're gonna talk about me. They're gonna have problems. But then when you see it in the real world, where anybody can treat a black woman like she ain't nothing and black men don't do nothing. So now it has gone from talking to there is no action. We can sit there and watch it because the talking has created this narrative that a black woman talk too much, that a black woman is masculine, that a black woman ain't nothing, that all black women think they don't need a man, that everything negative about the black woman. So then when don't nobody help, you have to go back and listen to, this is the teachings that's being taught by a whole lot of these people. In that teachings that being taught, now people can sit down there and watch and ask this black woman, why you asking us to help? What are we supposed to do? And they said it like it was nothing. And that's why I say we sound like him. People like to say words have power. But when the only word you have by yourself about yourself, the only word you ever have about yourself is searching for something that's wrong with yourself. Internally, you feel something is wrong with you. That's just my take.
All right. All right.
If I may.
All right, go ahead, because then we gotta move
Yeah,
on.
I'll try to be brief. I think that what Bakari's misunderstanding about what's being said, at least from our position, from my position definitely, is that we can have opinions about ourselves that are calling out things that are not right, because as most cultures do, and you can go to any culture and they will tell you that they look to their own people to solve their problems. So when we look to our institutions, when we look to our pastors, when we look to our politicians, we look to people who look like us to fix it. When they were looking to their black supposed president, they wanted him to fix things because they thought, you look like us, so you have our best interests in mind. So when we go to the HBCUs and any other private institution or any institution, and we find that they don't have our best interests in mind, or they have other things in mind in addition to our best interests, or that's what we're being told, then we're disappointed. And then we call out, because black people do call out when they see something wrong. And other people do parody and parrot what they see us do, which is to lend our voice to what is outrageous. We speak out when we have outrage. And so that's what we're seeing. And you can't say don't speak on it, because we then just become a muzzled people who are already oppressed and now muzzled by our own self-action. which would be then what? We might as well be corpses. We're already about to be walking around with masks again. So I feel like we need to speak out. We need to say when something is wrong, even when it's the Black church, even when it's the Black school, even when it's an institution of any kind, and say, hey, you're not doing right. Because when they are not doing right, something has to be done from us. I don't even think that we as Black people are expecting white people to fix it. We're expecting that, oh, we've said something, now someone's going to act. Just like you said about that situation. And my son told me about that one. That situation with that poor woman that people just watched her get attacked because she wasn't interested in this young man. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absurd that we as a people do not anymore act. We can speak on things, and maybe we say bad things, and maybe we say good things, but all we do is speak. And we don't do anything. So yeah, I think that maybe a call for action on a lot of things is necessary. But that's just my view on it, and I won't be too more verbose.
And forecast. Let me ask you a question, forecast.
Yeah.
Now, for the social outcomes that Bakari is talking about right now, to me is like a horse and cart. Which one comes first? So this total social outcome that he wants, where Black people are on the same awakening, is it gonna come magically? Like I said, we could do our best at home, or is it going to come from a national movement that's going to be done through institutions? That way, our best are on the same mindset and have that code that you've been talking about from the time you started your channel. I yield the mic.
All right. I mean, I guess I'm not really sure like what exactly you asking me. If you're saying it's gonna come from like institutions, or if we're gonna like have a revolution from home, or
yeah, that's what I'm asking. Basically, Bakari said, "Oh, just Black people, way Black people think, the way Black." I'm saying for it to tangibly happen, for this to have the outcomes that we need, how are we going to get it? Is it going to be through the best and our brightest, through coming through institutions where they're having the same mindset, or just going to magically happen while we sit here talking and hoping, wishing upon a star? To me, when I'm looking at HBCUs or any institution, whether it's a private institution or my wife started daycare, whatever it is, this is the key. But when you get to HBCUs, you're talking about at the collegiate level. This when they're coming out to be professors, coming out to be doctors, coming out to be engineers. That's what I'm asking you. Like, what comes first, the cart or the horse? Do the Black people have to have the same mindset first? Or do we need to go through our institutions first so we can get that same mindset?
Well, that's the thing. It's like the truth is like one comes with the other, right? Because you have like, how could you have the people in the institutions if they don't have the right mindset to begin with? But also you need the institutions to help with the general mass of the people. But it's hard to get the support of creating the stuff if people don't have a mindset. Because like, like I said, it's a multitude of things. Like, because like, okay, say like with the Alabama thing, it might just happen on some magic stuff where Black people say, I'm tired, and then they go do what they have to do. But then in the aftermath, you still need the other side where the young brothers who got fired, you know what I'm saying? Now we don't have a way to hire them to do it again. So now people is like stuck and like, what am I gonna do? So I personally think it comes, you know what I'm saying, hand in hand, but and the other thing I wanted to say too, like, right, and it's like, what Bakari was saying, right? Because and they all went left because I won't even talk about like all of that, but I'll let y'all go. But like, even if you bring up HBCUs, and I know Bakari knows, I'm not saying like, oh, well, just whatever HBCUs. Now, I don't care who says what. I can see what goes on in our own stuff, and me saying like, well, this one thing is, and I know Bakari just be messing with me when he's saying like, because he understands like I think that we should, but we should be in control of our institutions. But my only thing is, even when you say what you're saying, like, we don't need to be doing this publicly and on the thing. And this is where even while I let other people come on that be annoying y'all, because I'm like, where do y'all be drawing the line? Because I don't see how y'all saying, like, when you saying negative stuff and like every time we got to come up, like, look at what, I'm saying, like this person is doing, like other Black people is doing, is no different. We understand that by now, and we keep saying the same thing over and over. So like, we're on here contributing, doing the same thing over and over, you know what I'm saying? And like we would give certain people a pass who say nothing but negative stuff about black people if we like certain things. But like that's why I even let certain quote unquote coons come on here, because that's what I always mess with y'all. Because like I'm like, where do y'all draw the line? Like you don't think like sitting here just keep bringing up the issues and saying, well, because this going to make certain people feel like you're talking about like, well, just black people in America are like dumb or something or whatever, and we need to not do this and that, you know. Even when I saw the whole thing beginning, I seen it like at first I seen people talking about like Mexicans and all these other groups who try to come under us, and we can all agree on that. But then I saw it get shifted towards black people having issues with each other. And the thing is, it's not even new. I was just talking about Paul Cuffey on the Back to Africa thing. They had the same argument, but I even think that this time it's not coming from us, and I think that we feed into it. So I don't see like where we can see like when we say, if even if I say something about an HBCU, I'm gonna say something to uplift it too, you know. But at the same time, like if I don't see how you could see that with that institution, but then like, you know, like go in and always say like negative stuff on like the like that whole thing, just keep getting caught up in the FBA ADOS Pan-African argument. Like we get that that's coming from outside people, you know, but
yeah, but I just want to say I didn't want to get Bakari fired up, because I know he gets upset when we start talking about these pressures, and I have a lot of good things to say about them, but again, when we talk about the tangible changes that we talk about every week, to me that's the key. You know, when you're talking about the actual changes that we want to see in the future, I think that's the key. But thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you letting me use my voice, guys. I appreciate you guys.
yeah, shouts out to you, and shouts out Everett. I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna show like a little bit of the rest, but I'm gonna let Bakari. But Bakari, you were just saying it like how some like you. I know you was mad and you apologized and stuff. I don't think sometimes you shouldn't even apologize for some of the stuff, but like Bakari, you know that whole clone energy is not limited, and they say a bunch of negative stuff like, you know, we ain't this and we ain't that and we are N words, you know, that's not a limited thing, and it's like a global thing. And my only thing is I'll be only seeing people say it like with the one-sidedness of it, you know what I'm saying? Y'all would get certain one side would give this person a pass, you know what I'm saying, but I see them all as the same, you know. But Bakari, if you wanted to say anything, my brother.
No, but my point, like I said, my point is it's not whether you can say anything or not. I ain't telling nobody what they can or can't say. My point is how publicly, and then if we can publicly talk about us and sound like Billy Bob right there, we should look like, damn, man, that is a problem. That's all I'm saying. If we can see where we sound like that person right there.
Well, Bakari, my thing is right. I guess never mind. I don't even want to. I ain't gonna say it. So go ahead.
You can say what you want to say.
Okay,
It doesn't.
but Bakari, my thing is right, because there's some people who would say like when you be like anti-reparations, that sound like other people's talking points too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but the thing about it is, I never said anti-reparations. I say black people ain't gonna get reparations because they ain't gonna give you nothing. Anything you want, you got to take it. That's what I say about reparations. They ain't gonna give, in all these years, they haven't given you nothing. That's what I say about reparations. In all these years, if they haven't given you nothing, I say the first reparations should come from internal reparations. That's exactly what I say about reparations. So if somebody want to say I sound like them because I say they are not going to give you anything, show me where they have decided to give black people. Show me what they have decided. You know what? Giving reparations would be best for black people. We ain't gonna be able to find that. That's all, and that's my feeling on reparation. That's my feeling. Shit. That's my feeling on everything that we do. It's my feeling. Even when they mention this, that's why I said if there's a problem, there's always a solution. If your problem is with an HBCU, See, the thing about it is, I don't just talk out of hate. I talk out of being involved, and I know more of what the problem is than most people that sit up here and say there's a problem, because most people don't know what they'll be talking about. And I ain't saying that to be rude. I'm just being honest. But that's why I also said there's black private schools that white people had nothing to do with, and they have nothing to do with now. That if we want to change something, we can get involved in those black private schools. They have black private institutions right now. And I named two. Well, Bethune-Cookman ain't private no more because they wasn't getting any funding from black. They were about to shut down. But Tougaloo College, and I even went on here and told you how when they went and did their tour of HBCUs, how they say they had that was one of the first they saw what an HBCU where a school worshipped Malcolm X, where they worship Malcolm X as much as they worship Jesus, that in their history class, you had to learn Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. But see, people don't hear that part. They don't hear that part because I'm talking about somebody black. So if I don't say that, even though I said it, people don't hear it, and that's where they got to hold on to. See, they ain't gonna teach this in the school. But that's not true. When they actually have universities, then even went on where they talked about how they teach it in North Carolina, A&T. They went through about 20 different universities where they were talking about, they were surprised at what they were teaching at these HBCUs. But people didn't hear that part. And private schools have more leeway to teach those things than public schools. So if we really want the universities to change, my point is, we can get involved. Let's find a private HBCU where you live, and we can get involved with private schools, and we can go talk to them. But what will happen is most people who say things about HBCUs will go and be surprised about some of the things that they do teach, and will be surprised why the cities that they are in, why those cities love those schools. And some of these things you have to be involved in to know. And if you're not involved, and there's somebody who do know want to tell you and you still want to fight it, that's not my problem. That's really not my problem.
See the dead horse right now. I'm dead. I'm dead.
All right. So look, y'all, let me finish this junk because y'all said be back like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna have to skip through like a lot, I'm gonna play some more of this, and so I guess because it was a couple points, I guess.
It's for white people,
and also how much money they was bringing in, because and like I said before, they have these debates, and then they use all the money that they make in the debate to allegedly donate to whatever charity. And if we go debate and all that stuff, that's how you like monetize your own stuff. Like we can have these like Everett and and Shanique and can have this HBCU debate with Bakari, and then we like, all the proceeds go to Virginia Union or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Do it for a gas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to, but anyway,
it needs to be a fair debate, man. You got to call somebody who really know what they're talking about. I'm being honest, and that's not an insult.
You shady, Bakari.
You gotta find your partner.
But I love Everett and Shanique. I'm gonna say that.
I ain't changed a bit of love for you, Bakari.
They are my brother. Everett is my brother, and Shanique is my sister. And I'm glad to see black husband and wife come up here and try to come against me. But
I ain't coming to get you.
But it don't bother me.
But we can agree to disagree. That's what I like about the fact that we're on a platform where the two of us and you, we all can agree to disagree on a subject. But at the end of it, like you said, if we get to a solution, then it's all for something, not for nothing.
And that's the thing about it, is to come to a solution. Then the critique can become critique, and that's it. And that's all I want is for us to, because our children watch us. Trust me, I do know teenagers watch us. I do know that for a fact because I have teenagers. Well, your son, he ain't a teenager no more. He's 20, and their friends will tune in. And that's enough, because I want them. Let's say something good about us. Even through all the nonsense, there's still going to be something good that black people have done and black people do. It's okay if we're going to touch on the nonsense, but let's touch on the greatness of us as well. That's it. That's my biggest thing. Let's touch on our greatness as well. Let's touch on the fact we still here through everything we ever been through, and we still have some people striving and trying to go out here and make a change. That's my biggest point. And I wasn't talking about nobody on this panel or any other panel when I said this man sound like black people on social media. I think Forecast have an idea of the type of channels I'm talking about, right? Forecast. Yeah. I know you do. But I wasn't talking about nobody here. I was talking about those bigger channels, and you can listen like, God damn, he sounds just like them. That's who I was talking about. I said y'all, because that's what Forecast like to do. And they said, y'all made the Forecast. Well, Forecast didn't take the bait, and Shanika ever did, but the y'all is for Forecast.
Yeah, I know, because you was walking yourself in this trap the whole time, Bukari. I ain't have to take the bait.
See, that's the debate was for Forecast.
Well, my husband said to tell you that you got him in a camel clutch and the full Nelson.
I ain't got, look, we got each other there. Because I admit that, and we got to work through these problems together to create the solution together as people, absolutely, as a black people. Hell yeah, that's it right there.
All right, so let me play a little bit more, because I was gonna play like a longer jump, but I'm not. So.
The barrier is their own anger.
No, you cannot say it's all just on their attitude, because black people, quote unquote, are too big of a statistic for you to just apply a attitude across the entire board. What you're doing right now is just as bad as the anti-white CRT people, okay, that say, hold on, it's just as bad as the anti-white CRT people that say, yeah, you know, all white people, they just really hate black people. If you get them alone, you know, then, you know, you'll see that they really hate black people.
Okay, let me
You're making the
respond to
same
that
argument right now.
No, I'm not, because there are many blacks who want to be responsible, but they suffer because of the good suffer with the bad. They have enough bad black attitude that people don't necessarily want to take the risk. I grant you that.
How does the bad black attitude contribute to the disproportionate rate of poverty?
Because they lose out on some opportunities, because people don't trust black people as much as white people, because whites have established a reputation of being kind, polite, responsible, showing up on time, not trying to cry racism or sue you if you have to discipline them or fire them.
You were talking about anti-white,
and so yes, it does. The good do have to suffer from the with the bad, unfortunately. But if they have an understanding about that, rather than blaming the whites for something that the other blacks have done, then they can advance in life, and people will reward that.
So you realize that in areas like communities or neighborhoods that are more poor, part of the problem there.
All right, let me see another part they were talking about. I don't know. I ain't write down the
parts. They didn't really have too much in the way of urban areas down in the South. Many of them were rural, and maybe that's why they're doing better in the South, because they didn't get brainwashed into this degeneracy that you found in the cities.
You keep saying brainwash this, brainwash that, but at the end of the day, we have documented evidence.
The end of what day?
Hold on. We have documented evidence that a policy called redlining existed.
Let me see it. I forgot that. I ain't write down the time.
Imprisonment rate for white people. Okay, this is going to have a negative effect on black families as a whole. You keep complaining about these issues.
Whose fault is that they're in jail?
Certain policies that are trying to crack down on drugs and crack down on crime that are not being carried out properly and are resulting again with negative outcomes for black people.
So you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, because you're not blaming them for their moral failures and their lack of sense in not committing crimes or not getting caught committing crimes.
You talked about making any sense. You're not making any sense right now. You're being so female-minded right now.
That's funny. You claim that blacks and whites supposedly use the marijuana. They're more likely to be arrested for marijuana usage. I think it's possession, really more likely what they're arrested for, but they use it differently. Whites do it in behind closed doors or off in the boonies, and blacks do it on the streets and are more shameless about it. And like you said, they have higher violent crime rates, so they do have more police attention, and they have an attitude.
Grant you that, which I don't believe that that's true because I'd have to see a study to prove it. But even if I were to grant, even if I were to grant you that, even if I were to grant you that, then still that higher crime rate
is that
and the higher likelihood of police in that area is a result of systemic racism. You're treating
right, and let me tell you this because they bring up Chicago all the time, but you know Anchorage, Alaska is like the most dangerous city in America, and like 7 of all those 10 cities is like, you know, rural white boy towns is like the most violent places in America. It was like a lot of talking points because I was gonna go through the talking points, but let me skip.
You also know at one time Anchorage, Alaska was also known as the marijuana capital. People didn't know that because it's freezing cold. But yeah, they was known as the you found people from everywhere in Alaska for marijuana. They was the marijuana capital in the United States. They don't like to talk about that either.
Yeah, a lot of those states, but now you see they're making billions of dollars off of marijuana. Why because that's what the thing is, like crime has been all the way down just across the board, you know. Most of it is for nonviolent drug offenses, and now you see like they're making it legal and making billions of dollars off the same thing. But that's just how it goes, you know. I'm playing a little bit more.
Yes, you are. Yes, you're treating black people as if they live in a vacuum, that they're just all. You're essentially implying that black people are not a product of their environment, just like we all are a product of our environment.
You pretty much this white boy is saying, well, yeah, it's true what he's saying. It's just that it's because of this systemic racism, and it's their fault. You know what I'm saying? It's just they're a product of their environment. You know,
there are higher crime rates in your neighborhood. That there's a reason for that. Why are there higher crime rates? Usually it's attributable to higher rates of poverty. Okay, why are there higher rates of poverty? We have to go down the line here.
No, again, poverty does not cause crime. You can say it all you want, but maybe you're an atheist. Are you an atheist? Is this why you believe that the poverty is causing the crime?
Are you feeling and probably did a crime earlier, so they give him a
look into the specifics.
Also?
I guarantee you, look into the specifics, and it'll be much more reasonable than you're pretending. If you care about it so much,
clearly the systemic racism claim, which I am arguing affirmative, is we're unable to invest.
Let me show you all the money they was making doing this stuff.
From a fictional of a bad attitude. And then you're saying, well, it's because inequalities here that are affecting this role in the decision.
And but
so we can go to Q&A.
All right.
You want to say
just a big
we all love
it. I'm trying to show y'all.
Hey, Focus, after that, I got a question I want to ask you too after you show that.
Go ahead.
Okay, when you showed the white guy in Pittsburgh that the church put out and he went out there in the streets and started shooting, right? Didn't they say he was high on drugs or something like that?
Yeah, he was high on meth.
Now, let me ask a question. Now, this is what we have to do because I'm going to show you what's going to happen because I know the law is here in Georgia and damn near all the southern states. If you are high, they call it, they don't say it, but them white folks drugs, we know that crystal meth and them pills, right? And I literally know somebody got caught with a lot of them, literally, and said he was addicted and did like 2 months in jail and the rest of it probation and has no record. If the law in Pennsylvania is similar to the law in Georgia and he say he's addicted to crystal meth, he won't have a record. He gonna do about 2 months in jail and they gonna send him off to somewhere to get him some help and get him and get job training. If it's similar to the laws down south, that's what. Did he shoot anybody?
No,
but he just shot. He missed, right?
Yeah, he shot at a cop.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, that's what. Look, I know somebody that beat up 3 cops, broke a cop nose, had some of everything on him, but had mostly pills, and said, I'm addicted. I'm addicted. Got 2 months in jail. Then they sent him to rehab. Then got probation. Didn't get in no trouble in probation and have no. He even broke a white cop nose and white female cop knows and don't have no record of it. That's their rules if you're on their drugs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are a bunch of meth heads and all that stuff, you know, and they make they have drug take back day and all that stuff. But yo, that's what they do. And you know, like they made a bunch of like dumb arguments the whole time. Like it's a bunch of stuff. But the problem is like with that with the church thing, right? A lot of the white boys, like the cop is more so like this white boy over here who may be a caricature, but like the white dude was like, yo, this was not a racially motivated shooting or attempted shooting. It's not racially motivated. Even though he wrote some down about shooters and all that stuff, they weren't even specific with it. But it's the fact is, like, even if you say that, like, yo, it's a lot of the white boys who be in the police departments, who in the judges, you know, who in all of these spaces that'll get us smoked, you know what I'm saying? They are the ones still saying this stuff. Like, even if we sound like them, they are smoking us behind it, you know what I'm saying? And they are putting their institutions behind it, you know what I'm saying? And even
I'm sorry. My
No,
bad. I
no.
thought you had stopped forecast. My bad.
No, yeah, you are good. I was just gonna say, like the other liberal white boy, he was like, okay, they may be more violent, but we need these laws because such and such, but they are racist. Like they like the abolitionists from back in the day, like you know about the abolitionists, Bakari, like they would be like, you know, like they was white nationalists pretty much too. So.
Yeah, I know about the abolitionists. They say they're helping you free the slaves, but then they keeping people as indentured servants, the ones they can use, and the ones they can't use, they'll help them get up north. But the ones they could use, they kept as indentured servants, basically enslaved in servitude. People had to ask who they could date. The women had to ask what black men they could be around, and all that. Yeah, I know. Hey, when I was talking about that white law, I want y'all to know something. There was a black person got off on that white law. So what you think gonna happen to this white boy right here? If their law is similar to down south, that's a black man I know got off on that white law. Beat 3 white police ass, broke the white woman nose, and still got off. A black man in Georgia. So what you think they're gonna do to this dude right here if their laws is similar? They something else. We caught up in a damn wicked ass system. We caught up in a wicked system, and we fighting each other. Not on here. Let me make that clear because I don't want nobody to think I'm talking about this panel no more. And we fighting each other, and we're putting each other down. You know, and we caught up in this system where everything is designed damn against us. Every damn thing is designed to keep us at the bottom. And you got Tristan, the pro wrestler, up there talking about how bad black folk is. You know, but that's how they think. And I let them think that way. They can continue to think that way about me. But I bet you I ain't gonna be no victim to their ass.
Yeah. Shanique, you want to say something?
You know what? It's funny. The only thing, just watching it made me realize that it's no different than I said in the chat, that we really have no allies, no friends, because and no matter what the thing is, like the guy who's speaking, who seemingly has the counterpoint of, oh, well, this is the reason, that's the reason, it's all still about their own behavior. It all goes back to some inherent dark way about us. I've seen us in the worst of situations and still not behave as immorally, without morals, as they have in the best of situations. So we are the only people who they can appeal to and appeal to our sense of what is right and what is just. And we actually go, well, we've been treated badly, but in the sense of being right and just, we've got to stand up for what's right and just. Like that idea that they're trying to say, it's kind of, it's just crazy to me. It just shows you that no matter what, no matter angle they come from, that, oh, we're behind. No, you're not. We have no friends and allies. And the sooner that we realize that, the better off we'll be. I would suggest that we use whomever and whatever we can to get ahead in terms of what our plans are. But don't think it's always going to be the scorpion and the frog. It's always going to be that. And a scorpion's always going to do what he does. It doesn't matter how long down the line that's what he's going to do. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I agree. But like even what they and this one got 14,000, but they got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and stuff. But I want you to see like how much money they raised and how much support this white boy over here got. And because they was going on him, calling him like a cuck, you know what I'm saying? You know,
negative downstream effects, bruh. So we're able to acknowledge all with Black people, and
trying to get to the question.
Policies can have negative effects, downstream negative effects. And when we're talking about things like redlining, there is a reason why, to this day, we still see massive gaps when it comes to wealth, generational wealth, upward mobility, and opportunity with Black people and in Black communities. We cannot.
The next super chat is from Rational Right for $1.99. Hake with the good hair, keep it up.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Shout out to the chat.
And another $1.99 from Rational Right. He says, most Blacks are angry. That's the real issue.
Yeah.
To which I would like to know, okay, how do you know this? And are you able to demonstrate this with anything other than your feelings and your own intuition? To me, this sounds just like the cringy CRT libcucks who say, well, just look around, you know, angry white men. They're just a big problem. Angry white men. And to which I would say that too is cringe.
When you look at how 96% voted for Barack Obama twice just because he's Black, you don't think that's rooted in some type of weird racial resentment?
No. Why would that be rooted in racial resentment?
Why would any race vote 96% twice for one Black candidate? Give me a break.
Didn't Trump get the largest vote amongst white people?
He did, but not 96. I wish he got 96% of the white vote. We would have overcome any shenanigans. That would have been awesome.
All right.
Nice.
0022 for $10. He says, it's not the racism. It's not that racism doesn't exist. It's an anti-white slur, regardless of definition.
Yeah.
It would be like arguing if N-word exists rather than arguing that it's an anti-Black slur.
It's worse for a white to be called a racist than it is for a Black to be called the so-called N-word. Because if a white gets called a racist and people believe it, which most of the time they will, he gets fired. If a white calls a Black the N-word, the white gets fired, not the Black. So, what a mess.
Oh man, y'all have anything to say about that?
That dude.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bakari.
Oh no, I had muted. So hey, look, these dudes, and even the liberal, I promise you, they are absolutely funny. And I can take back what I said to Shanique when I say they ain't parroting us, we parroting them. God damn it, I'd be damned if Shanique, because that dude right there, I'm like, when he started talking about generational welfare, I'm like, dude, those arguments and the people that he sounded like, I'm like, oh my God. So I would tell Shanique, I was wrong by saying we parroting them, because I promise you, you right. The more they talk, the more I hear them saying a lot of the things that we say, but saying it like we said, showing like they got it from us. So I would say I was absolutely wrong on that point, Shanique. But man, I don't worry. Look, these dudes, they are ain't nothing. You see, he say being called, if you're white, being called a racist is worse than being called an N-word if you're Black. Because if you're white, and I'm making sure this is what he said, if you're white and somebody call you a racist, people gonna believe it and you get fired. But if you white and you call a Black person an N-word, you gonna get fired. Well, you know what? If he called the right Black person an N-word, not only you gonna get fired, you're gonna get your ass beat first. But he think, you know, he really want to call a Black person an N-word. He really want to have the courage to call a Black person N-word, and he's the type of coward where to be 10 or 15 of them together, and they think they got you where you gonna run, and he'll call you the N-word. These people, but nothing they say and do surprise me. Even when he said white people, what he say? White people known for being nice, respectful, helpful, give jobs, all that. He forgot to say white people was known for being robbers. They was known for being rapists. They was known for being murderers. They were known for traveling around the world stealing. They were known for anybody tried to help them because they didn't know how to survive. From Africa to the Native Americans, they didn't know how to survive, and anybody ever tried to help them. They was also known as backstabbers. They were also known as people that created bestiality. They known for a lot of stuff other than those 3 words that he said. Other than those 3 words that he said, they are known for a lot of stuff. But man, look, I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 12 o'clock. I'm gonna try to listen. I'm probably gonna listen till I fall asleep. All right, Shanique. All right, everybody.
Hey, Bakari, hey, before you go to sleep, just watch this 30-second John. I was gonna say this for last, but just because y'all was bringing up black people don't help, I'm on to show you black people do
I got you.
Don't break no bones on it. Yes, I'm still here. Get it down here right away.
It's too hot out here.
Yeah, man. It's on the way. Somebody, I had to call quickly.
There you go, Bakari. It's young black brothers helping the older sister, or older black woman. So
Yeah, I had taken my glasses off. I was just about to ask you what it was. But good night, Shanique. Tell everybody I say holler at him next time. Tell him he got me in a hammerlock too.
All right, good night, Bakari. He said one love.
All right, go ahead, Shanique.
Yeah, no, it's funny what Bakari said. I totally agree on that last part. When he said that if he say it to the right one, he wind up like if he met Delroy Lindo, say it. Like, go ahead and say it. Try and say the word and see what happens. Because some people will give you exactly what you expect, which is a can of it sprayed heavy. And he might need that. But your average person, they're not gonna fare badly. Your average white person is not faring that badly when it comes to them behaving badly in society. And I think that these guys here, these 3 guys, like you bring out how much they acquired financially, they're hecka smart. Okay, because the truth of the matter is, I don't think that any of them have an opposing opinion to the one on the left from what I'm seeing. They all probably have the same opinion, but they know how to play the roles. It's Punch and Judy, and it was very entertaining, and they managed to confuse and delude, and you played a bad cop, good cop, and meanwhile they just take it all to the bank. So at the end of the day, you know what? If you're gonna watch it, by all means, they're gonna profit from it. So they were smart. I think more of us need to do the same thing, and maybe that's what First Riflemen do, or whomever, wherever they're at. They do play into whatever so that they benefit from it. Hopefully. My husband said Jason Whitlock does the same thing. So exactly, like they're getting paid for it. So they're smart when it comes to the money of it. But the truth of the matter is, as far as whether we have friends, I don't care what they say. It is clear if we really had friends, our position in this country would not be what it is, because there is so much power that is in a lot of their pockets to do things to change for those that they care about, marry, have children with, because that's what's happened since integration. There's a lot more of that, yet we're still in the subservient position by and large. And truth of the matter is, you've got a lot of people who they've helped to lift up who still have not done anything for us. So it's not just me mentioning the HBCUs or any other institution, but a lot of people who have been given an opportunity to change things for us, or who have taken an opportunity and managed to really make it into something else. They've then said, "Oh, I'm good where I'm at, and the rest of you Negroes figure it out," when we should really try to change something. So I'm telling you, opportunity come for me. I'm going to do what I can to then pull and change the circumstances for us. I think that they're doing exactly what we expect them to do. I've not seen one of them not capitalize off an opportunity and make it pay for them. And here they are. He can pretend all day. All he did was bring up a lot of ideas that he was educated on, probably in one of the now defunct Black Studies classes in a university that he learned. And now he gets to seem like, oh, I'm so woke and so compassionate to the Black people. I don't think he really even believes that. I yield.
No, yeah, I agree. And yo, I'm about to wrap it up, right? But I want you to see this, right? Because this was about 45 to 50 minutes of them reading super chats, asking them dumb questions. And Matron said it earlier, Shanique said it, they're playing theater, it's like theaters, they're playing roles, and they're capitalizing off of this. And if we gonna sit here and argue about dumb stuff all the time, like if we gonna like I was kind of joking, but it's that serious. Like, if we're gonna talk about or debate about HBCUs, why not have it something like this? And then you putting your money together, because, like, God forbid if we do some productive, you know what I'm saying? If we at least want to see each other argue, like, you put the money, like, all right, we're gonna do this X, Y, and Z with this. We're gonna put it into this business. We're gonna put it into this institution, or all of these people who have like the sister who has her own school system, she's trying to put together, like all of this money goes to this organization if we're going to be in this situation. This like 45 minutes of them. I'm just a little bit more, right? Just because I'm about to stop.
Good with that?
Yeah, this is, I don't really have anything to say. You can go into the next one.
Gotcha. For from 0022 for $5, he says, Hunter's arguments are just anti-white slurs. Can he make a point without racial slurs?
Right. So they go on.
Facts don't care about your feelings. It's charts who are country is overall supportive of Black people, but they're still having these disparate negative results from certain systems. This is again indications that there are systems at play and not intentional racist.
Oh yeah, because this was an important point that they were saying throughout. Because he was saying, like, I'm not saying that people are racist. It's just it's no racist intent. That's their thing. It's like, I'm not saying these systems have racist intent. It's just the results happen to be this way. Because they argue a lot about the intent and not make it towards the people, because they do feel like the racist is a slur to them. And then you see Black people on the internet scared to say racist right now. And that's amazing to me.
They're very entertaining, and they're cool. They call into my show.
Roger that. And from Sho Suguyu, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name, for $5, penny for the guy. Good new sub. Thank you. Salty's on.
Amen. Konnichiwa.
Roger that. And from Joe Schwartz for $1.99, he says, what's your favorite video game and why?
See, that's some dumb stuff.
If you don't mind my asking, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious.
I'm in my 20s.
Nice, man.
All right. And from Lord Bibby 42 for $20, he says, systemic racism exists, yet we have the LeBron James, Oprah.
Now, $20 to say this dumb stuff was racism, but is Obama, Oprah and LeBron James exist?
Oprah's, Obama's, Jay-Z's, Cardi B's. Hunter, what in the world?
Sure. So even
wait, 1 second. He's not done. The U.S. props up Blacks and simps to them. If they aren't famous, they get free handouts.
So this is actually, first of all, no one's getting free handouts, but this is actually more an indication of systemic racism, because if the country is overall supportive of Black people, but they're still having these disparate negative results from certain systems, this is again indications that there are systems at play and not intentional racist people trying to screw over Black people. That's the first thing. So that
now, who put the systems into place? Is it people or just developed that way naturally?
That actually proves my point. Thank you. Second of all, if we're going to talk about famous musicians or whatnot, even during times of Jim Crow, when there was blatant racism and discrimination against Black people, you would still see people who would rise to the top of the music charts, who were playing, music. They were very popular and whatnot. Being popular or finding success here and there does not change the fact that there can still be systemic inequalities.
They were better off in those days. They were moral. They had their families together. They may have been poorer. I think America in general was less well off. But now we have ill-gotten gain of women working and women running the show.
I'm not at all. Obviously, that's wrong, and they were not better off then. But I think
morally they were. They had their families.
Well, I think
together.
I think I can come to like
they were less criminal too.
Hold on. I think that I can come to like a bit of a common ground here for you. That maybe the only benefit of Jim Crow and segregation then was that they were kept away from people like you.
Come on, they would love me.
All right. Oh, one more.
Let's move on.
Let's see how
From
much.
Brandon M for $5, he says,
$5.
I have studies and statistics that show how segregated schools perform better due to racial comfort. Studies and statistics, studies and statistics.
All right, I'm gonna stop there. All right, he's talking about and I think that black teachers would perform better for black students, in my opinion, and black hospitals will work better for black people, in my opinion. That's why I don't even be mad at the other white boy on top of that. But you see how much money just in that short time? That was like $27 just in 5 minutes of watching of like something that was like lasting for an hour of them putting up money. Some of them put up like $50, some of them put up like $2, but all that money they raised just in that couple minutes. But anything you wanted to speak on about that, Shanique?
I just think that they got a good what do you call it, a good little hustle going on, and they realize and they've got their finger on the pulse of the people. They know what people want and they're playing into it. And like you said, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice for not taking advantage of the fact that people want to hear either when we disagree or when we have opinions that aren't as popular as what's going on in the world or whatever the situation is, or when we have people on who fully have just gone into the cloning factory and come out completely different creatures. So yeah, they were smart in that. Do I think that anything of what they said was for any real purpose? All they did was speak to their real feelings and then counter that with what we all know. So they probably had a lot of watchers who were our own people who very much felt like, oh, well, see, this is what they don't know. They said what we already think, because we've been either educated or we've educated ourselves on our own true experience here. So sometimes we sit and we think, oh, how do they not understand? Or how could they not know? So that guy clearly showed that, yeah, there is a group of them that know, and it doesn't change a thing, because at the end of the day, he's going to go off and live his life and continue with supporting white supremacy and whatever else and however else this country is running and unchanged, and be content with it. I don't think that he's going to make any difference, the one who was so seemingly anti-white supremacy, because the truth of the matter is I think they're probably equal. I really feel like that was just about business, and who can blame them to be about business? We're stupid for not being about business more. I yield.
Yeah, pretty much they all white nationalists. So let me show something positive, and I'm gonna let you give your finals, your closing out statements. I will show this with Bakari just now, but black teenagers help an elderly black woman after she falls out in the street. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. Yes, I'm still here. Get it down here right away.
It's too hot out here.
Yeah, man. It's on the way. Somebody, I hear the call. Okay. That you may be more dehydrated than anything else.
All right, so I wanted to show that because everybody gonna show the sister getting hit and nobody helping. And so, I wanted to show that, there are some young brothers out there that would help an older black woman, who fainted out in the street. So, but yeah, Shanique, you got any final words? You can go in as long as you want,
Oh, actually, I'm gonna try to be brief. I just simply feel like this show was good. This particular presentation of the videos that you showed, I appreciate it, because I think that a lot of times we don't get a glimpse into seeing how they really feel. I don't usually go into the chat. Sometimes I'll see a video or something that shows something happen and where it's a black person that done something wrong. And then I go to the chat and it's brutal, but it really shows like not only complete ignorance, but a huge amount of hatred that does exist. That when people say, or candidates like that guy earlier, the Indian guy said that he didn't think that racism existed or he hadn't experienced it. He hasn't, but I'm sure he will. The closer he gets to this whole election going on, believe me, he will. And I really doubt he'll get his foot into that office. But on top of that, he'll get his person of color wake up call soon enough. I think we need to recognize that no matter what it is that is being said out of their mouths, we have to look at our own experience in this country and gauge the room by that. If you are doing well, but the majority of your people are those who are inside of the prison system, and you've got a friend or a cousin or somebody who knows someone who's there unjustly, even if there's some who are there justly, then you know that there's something going on. It's not about the narrative that, oh, we're inherently wicked, that we're inherently evil, that we're inherently predisposed to violence or criminal activity. Because I've been watching quite a few videos where you're seeing white people going in for the smash and grab, going in for the I don't know, just tearing things apart in CVS's with blowtorches and whatnot to steal. So criminality seems to go across the lines. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at what we are doing now and how we were before desegregation, it's clear what I think was the best for us, at least. And I don't think that it's a bad word. I think that desegregation was not a good thing. I think we really do need to go back to taking care of our own, being in our own places with our own people and seeing how it works and defending ourselves and taking care of our weaker ones within our own communities. But the truth of the matter is, like was brought out, we have to be the ones to make that happen. And I don't think that it comes from always expressing fully all that goes across our mind. I think that we're going to have to use some subtlety. I think that we're going to have to use and utilize relationships and recognize the whole while that a relationship in business does not a friend make. We do not have any allies. We have people who can mutually benefit people, one another for a time. And we need to utilize that thinking when we're dealing with people outside of our own people. Sadly, I don't have to tell us that when it comes to our own people, but I do have to tell us that when we're dealing with others. So we need to recognize that, and we do need to capitalize. So come to me whenever you're ready to get that conversation on, where you put in the super chats and all that. I'm so here for it, because I believe that we need to benefit in all the ways that are out there from saying the things that need to be said and doing the work. And if that helps us to get the work done, then I'm here for it. So whatever you're up for, I'm up for. I feel like we have to be grassroots. I'm going to try to be grassroots, because I'm tired of seeing us, as they say, at the bottom. And it's because of relationships, being able, generational wealth, all of these things that are basically one helping another, thinking about another. We've got problems with the black man and the black woman and the children and all of these things because we're not thinking about anything but ourselves. You've got one person that makes it, he's a millionaire, and then he can't think about anybody black. I don't know if you saw that whole video they had with that Jay-Z has a movie coming out. It's deplorable. Please talk on it when you see the information come out about it, because the idea, you think initially it's about, oh, all the cast is black and it's about Jesus or the Bible. But the truth of the matter is, it's going to have a lot of people going, oh, that I don't know how to think. And they don't know how to think because they haven't rooted their belief system in anything solid. We either go into someone's church or listen to someone tell us something, but we're not reading our book or determining that I believe this because. So we need to figure out what we believe. We need to get relationships with one another, and we need to capitalize on the relationships we have with people who are not us. That's my mindset on it. I'm glad that you showed all that you showed. I've gained something from it, and hopefully I can make some changes in my own life. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Shouts out to Shanique. Shouts out to Everett in the building. I appreciate when y'all come through. Shouts out to Bakari who came through. And consider you listen to the beginning. I was talking about certain things, like I was talking about the sister who was pregnant, and the police got to her, and of course the people in the church, and you know, just a bunch of other stuff, and the East Indian boy who running for president. And yeah, it does go back to everything that we were showing, and I wish I could have showed more, because I get it, you know what I'm saying, it got off track, but like y'all was saying, like both sides say like some crazy stuff, and then, you know, a lot of it is like not far from how most of whatever thinks, you know, and you want to be prepared. That's why I was showing earlier, you know, at least they had enough sense to turn the meth head away from the churches, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I got to say to that whole debate, you know, like I said earlier, I don't know if you saw this, Shanique and everybody else who came later, but this gonna be my new face to everybody who say something dumb. I'm gonna start doing this.
Re-election in 2026.
That's gonna be my face every time. Every time Bakari come on here and say something crazy, this was my face the whole night.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
She came up loud as hell too. Did you hear him? Yo, they still got this old white boy out there too. Like, that's crazy.
He is gone. He is not there. Mitch McConnell left the building like weeks ago.
Damn, they still got him out here. It's gonna be my face every time like they come on, like that whole debate. You know what I'm saying? If they say something crazy, I ain't gonna debate them. I'm gonna just look like this.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
I can't even move them. And then they let him keep going, right?
Okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
Speak up, yeah, like you gonna understand. Yo, this is gonna be my new face now from now on. Shanique, anytime somebody is saying something crazy, I'm gonna play this.
Now you got that stuck in my head. I'm gonna see you.
Definitely. But all right, so shouts out to all of y'all who was in the building. You know what I'm saying? Yo, shouts out to Black Megas. Yeah, Black Megas in the building. Shouts out to Raw in the building as always. Appreciate you, Raw. She probably left out after all the crazy stuff. Buwana in the building. Shouts out to Matron who was in the building. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Koku who was in the building. And Matron, yo, you should have jumped on. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know, we can have this debate if we have the super chats popping off. Other than that, we shouldn't even talk about it. Let's stop even feeding into the nonsense. That's all I'm trying to say, you know. Or else we might as well have all the coons come on, you know what I'm saying? Why draw the line at something? Just the ones you like, you know what I'm saying? If they say on Pan-African or they whatever, it ain't no difference, you know what I'm saying? But that's why we don't survive, because we're not the fittest, even though we supposed to be. But you know what? I'm gonna let Sister Soldier have the last words, y'all.
Number two, you're making a moral appeal to a country that doesn't have a moral conscience. The question becomes that when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. I feel it's not enough.
But that might be all we can give.
No. And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. What I work with is what I have. Listen, you have to have some confidence in the power of African people amongst ourselves to establish a foundation. We have it. We have utter chaos in our cities, and you got to say that. You can have a program. I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program. Millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world. And if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future?
Thank you, Sister Soldier. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Exactly, Raw. I already know. Thank you, Shanique. I appreciate it. And shouts out to you, Raw, still in the building. I appreciate it. And Raw, you know the answer. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't know the answer. That's why we have a tough time surviving. But shouts out to Sister Soldier of that time. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully we can have her energy from that time and keep it moving. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.